contents of these 5 pages is true and correct?
As far as my knowledge goes, yes.
Thank you. Can you then turn to the second statement, the supplementary statement?
I'm there.
And can you go to the last page of that statement? Can you confirm that the signature on that page is yours?
It's indeed my signature.
And you confirm the contents of this statement as true and correct?
To the best of my recollection, yes.
Thank you, Colonel. Chair, file 2, we will be using during the course of the Colonel's evidence. I just would like to point out that there are a few documents towards the end of file 2, which are really for witnesses that are to follow. So we may not refer to every single document file 2. It's just that they were included in here for text. But the next, Colonel, before we start with your statement, just provide a bit of context for the commissioners. And what we're going to be dealing with, as you're aware, last week we dealt with the drug bust at Port Shepstone. Did you see any of this?
Yes.
And the stream that we are concerned with this week is a second drug operation, and that was in Eritton, Gauteng. You confirm that?
Yes.
And you're familiar with that drug bust in Eritton?
I am indeed.
And that was a drug bust of about roughly 700 kgs of cocaine.
750.
What's the street value of that amount of cocaine?
Street value of a kilogram of cocaine is roughly 400,000 rand per kilogram.
400 per kilo?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so an amount this size is quite high value, roughly 300 million rand. And this occurred on 9 July 2021, this drug operation.
That is correct.
And is it correct that there have been no arrests currently linked to this operation?
That is correct.
And is it correct that there have been serious allegations of police interference in the investigation of this crime?
That is indeed correct.
Thank you. So that's just to give the commissioners a sense of why we're going with it. Let's begin with your supplementary statement. You provide a bit more detail there about the rollback. So can I ask you to go to that and begin at paragraph 5? You may read this into the record, or you may summarize as you go along.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, I joined the South African Police Service in 1987. I started off at the uniform or the station environment. During 1989, I was transferred to the Yilbra Vehicle Theft Unit in Johannesburg, where I attained the rank of lieutenant. During 1995, I was promoted to captain, whereupon was appointed the unit commander of the Vehicle Finance Fraud Unit. In 2001, I was appointed to the rank of superintendent, currently equivalent rank to that of lieutenant colonel, and transferred to the syndicate fraud unit in Johannesburg. In 2002, I was transferred to the organized crime unit in Pretoria, where I investigated various matters, to inter alia include that of narcotics-related offences and, for example, vehicle theft as well. During 2006, I was promoted to the rank of senior superintendent, presently equivalent rank to that of colonel. I was appointed as the unit commander of East Rand Organized Crime Unit. During 2015, I was transferred back to the Pretoria Organised Crime Unit to again assist at that unit. And in 2017, I was transferred to the Priority Violent Crime Unit, or task team, as the team leader. The NPVC, the Priority Violent Crime team, operated parallel with the SANEP team, referred to in my original statement, and constitute of a
Colonel,
provincial team.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can you just explain what SANEP stands for?
SANEP stands for South African Narcotics Enforcement Bureau. That constituted a provincial team responsible for the investigation of serious and violent crime. That's the NPVC. I acted as the team leader there, and there I stated what SANEP stands for. The unit was established around 2016 to combat and escalate. The SANEP team was together with the NPVC team. They were established together. The SANEP team was established to combat the escalation in illicit drug trade in South Africa. SANEP operates nationally to investigate and disruptive organized drug trafficking networks, clandestine laboratories, and to address the issue of precursor chemicals. During 2020, I was appointed as the SANEP team leader within the DPCI Gauteng structure and was further tasked with being the provincial coordinator for SANEP. During 2022, both NPVC and SANEP teams were disbanded. Following this disbandment, the four said teams, I remained stationed at the provincial office where I continued with being the project manager of undercover investigation into a drug syndicate. At the same time, I continued to perform duties as the provincial coordinator for SANEP, and another issue was also added, that of KFR. KFR stands for Kidnapping for Ransom Investigations, dealt with by the DPCI. During 2025, I was transferred to the West Rand Serious Organised Crime Unit, where I was appointed as the unit commander and currently still serving there.
So you've got quite some experience in dealing with drug seizures and enforcement, narcotic enforcement, right? That is, you've got a particular interest in that, as I understand.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, continue with your training.
During the course of my career, I completed numerous specialized investigation courses, inter alia, including but not limited to forensic investigation course, criminal investigation course, detective course, organized crime course, anti-kidnapping and extortion course. In respect of my tertiary education, I obtained the following qualifications: a national diploma in policing, national higher diploma in policing. It was later changed to the BTEC degree in policing. I did a diploma in security management, private security management, and then I did a year certificates in project management and a year certificate in strategic management. My current responsibilities as I'm serving as a unit commander for serious organized crime investigations in West Rand, except for the day-to-day management of the unit, I also oversee the investigations involving, to inter alia, include narcotic-related offences, cash in transit robberies, police killings, illicit gold and diamond dealing, infrastructure-related crimes, trafficking in persons, and kidnapping for ransom investigations. I'm also, as I indicated, continuing to perform duties as the provincial coordinator for SANEP and KFR investigations. In such a capacity, I coordinate most major investigations dealt with by the full-set structure within the Gauteng province. Following the disbandment of the narcotics team, as indicated, each DPCI serious organized crime unit has members within the unit responsible for narcotic investigations, commonly referred to as the SANEP section. Whenever major narcotic investigations arise, including, for example, drug labs, I assist the investigators involved in such matters. SANEP further has a national coordinator by the name of Brigadier Durban Harbour, who performs the similar coordinating functions, but on a national level. Such functions will inter alia include engagement and coordination with foreign law enforcement agencies regarding narcotics investigations transcending our international borders. I've attended some of these meetings with Brigadier Naika in relation to such international coordination efforts. Each province also has a SANEP coordinator who, through the national office structures, coordinate investigations extended across provincial borders.
Thank you. And then in paragraph 26 and 27, you say that you've got a particular interest and experience in narcotic investigations. Do you want to expand on why it is you are particularly interested in?
Commissioners, it's a very interesting field. You know, the criminals come up with very innovative ideas in terms of transporting their drugs, hiding their drugs, trying to avoid detection and the like. And I feel that drugs, in essence, is the root cause in our society at large of most crimes are being committed and the like. Somehow, a lot of crimes being committed in our country is related to narcotics in some way, form or fashion.
Thanks. So, you know, you're going to go into this in a moment, and I just want to get a sense from you about the size of the base.
The size of the problem that we face is, in my opinion, it's like any commodity. It's all about supply and demand. So if you have a situation where supply is less, if I can refer to the Boyson's case, for example, we took over 700 kilograms off the street, and still that did not influence the street price that much. So that just goes to show how big the problem is and on what amounts these drugs comes into our country, or even for that matter is manufactured in our country through the illicit drug labs.
I want to take you a step back. I just want to understand how you make the connection between the availability and use of narcotics and that being the root cause of most crime.
Commissioner, to answer your first question, sir, is that at the end of the day, if I can use the current example, there's foot and mouth disease into our country, and what happened then, there was a shortage of red meat, the prices skyrocketed. So if that makes sense in a way that it's all about supply and demand. So even if we remove a large contingent of supply, there was still enough to feed the market in the sense that the price didn't escalate that much. I hope that answers your question.
But how does that feed into other forms of crime? You said it's the root cause of
other forms of crime, Commissioner. People would steal and would rob. I mean, even within families. I sometimes also deal with the social crime prevention individuals at station level, where families are being torn apart because family members that are drug users would steal from their own family to feed their habit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Can you turn to the next section, which is the challenges that you face in narcotics investigations on paragraph 26.5.
Would you like me to continue on that?
Yes.
Okay. During the course of my duties, I've identified several challenges relating to narcotic investigation. One such challenge is the delay that the investigators are experiencing to obtain the analysis reports from FSL, the Forensic Science Laboratory. In this process, the analysis process might take months for the investigators to actually receive an analysis report or 212 statement to indicate if these are indeed drugs and what type of drugs it is that has been seized. The further challenge relates to
Let me pause you there, Colonel. So the analysis report talking about here is a report that establishes that what was seized is indeed narcotics, and 2, what form narcotics is, whether it's cocaine, mandrax, or heroin, or whatever. That's the analysis.
That is indeed correct, Commissioner.
And you say that this may take several months. What is the reason for what is the reason for that longer turnaround time?
It has been explained to us that at the end of the day, it's the workload that the forensic science laboratory sit with. I think that explains it in a nutshell.
And we're going to return to this when we look at it specifically in the Eritton, the Boysons.
Yes.
Thanks. Continue with the next paragraph.
The further challenge relating or one of the further challenges relates to the transportation and safeguarding of narcotics exhibits. There's the other challenges. There's also a shortage in terms of experienced, skilled investigators within the SANEP environment. In addition to this,
Sorry, Colonel.
Commissioner?
Could you, on that challenge relating to transportation, can you just elaborate about what in fact the issue? And I ask because with the previous week relating to Shepston, the testimony, we were informed that transportation involved a track and trace team, and I think made up of TRT, not mistaken, and we're told that that is proper. So when you say there's a challenge, what in concern?
Commissioner, the issue is that, if I can start with the transportation first, I think you have indicated it correctly, especially if you have a large consignment of exhibits that was taken. I think the good advocate related to or mentioned the issue of the street value of these exhibits. And then you have to make extra security and safety plans that you have to have in place to actually secure this exhibits when it's transported from point A to point B. Does that answer that part? Sorry, Commissioner.
I'm not quite sure. I think what, on the face of it, when you say challenge relating, it would either suggest you don't have enough resources, as in people being available. If track and trace, that's their job, you may be suggesting possibly that you find many times you don't have. It may be a concern about the vehicle that you don't have specialized. So I'm trying to understand what practically is the concern, and a concern that is capable of being fixed, and if so, how? Behind my question.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, the issue is that for a long time we didn't have the correct vehicles. The DPCI has now obtained armored vehicles, which will make that a lot easier. And if I can take the Commissioner back into the time of this operation, remember it was during COVID times, and there was a number of challenges because most entities operated on skeleton staff. So to get extra people like the likes of the TRT, the Highway Patrol, the Flying Squad, to assist one in actually safeguarding these exhibits was a challenge at that time, but that has also bettered from then to now. In terms of availability, if I would, for example, have to transport these exhibits now, there is the TRT teams within the different police precincts have been how can I put it? There were more people allocated to those sections that is able to assist us. So at the time of this specific Eritton operation, it was a challenge, but it's getting better by the day, Commissioner. Thank you. Thank you. The second or the following challenge is the lack of experience and dedicated prosecutors capable of dealing with sophisticated narcotic prosecutions. The other challenge concerns the poriousness.
If I can pause you on that, could you just explain what you mean by experienced or dedicated? Are you suggesting that a unit within is dedicated to narcotics, or what specifically are you thinking about here, and what kind of experience?
In my opinion, on that specific point, Commissioners, is that, for example, you have specialized within the MPA environment, you have specialized prosecutors dealing with, for example, fraud, and there's even special fraud courts and the like. Excuse me. So at the end of the day, it would be ideal, and I know we don't live in an ideal world, it would be ideal if one can have prosecutors that actually goes through some of these narcotic training with us, so that they're very much aware of the challenges we sit with. I mean, if I can, for example, take the whole issue surrounding cannabis these days, it is, with the Cannabis Act and the Cannabis Amendment Act, it is always, or not always, but it's for most part a challenge to actually get some of these cases placed on the court roll. And when we have specialized prosecutors, it would make our job much easier. And I mean, people say, yeah, cannabis is not I know in Europe they call it a Class B drug, but it is where drug use starts at. Cannabis.
But you would agree that what is essential for successful prosecution route is recommendation.
Absolutely, and that's why I also mentioned earlier the specialized training that, in my humble opinion, is suggesting in terms of the skills of SANEP members that should be escalated, and further training and constant training on the latest developments within this environment of illicit drug trade. And, yeah. So I would agree with you, yes.
You were at paragraph 30.
Paragraph 31, another challenge is the poriousness of the borders of our republic, including land and maritime borders. South Africa has approximately 72 border posts, which creates a substantial policing challenge in relation to drug trafficking. We also have a very extensive coastline in the republic that further facilitates the transfer of drugs, for example, consignments of drugs from larger vessels to smaller vessels. And these smaller vessels can then go ashore at very small harbours or even on the beach, for that matter, if that craft is small enough. The further challenge is the challenge.
Sorry again, Colonel, I'm sorry to keep interrupting you. Can you explain how that would take place, how they would transfer the drug consignment? I mean, when you say a larger vessel, are you talking about large container shipments?
Yes.
How would the transfer of drugs take place in those kind of vessels, smaller vessels that are able to then dock at a small harbour?
If we can, for example, stay with the cocaine bricks that we're dealing with in terms of the Eritton thing. So what they do is they manufacture or come up with a floating device. And this floating device is then packed with this bricks. It would not be the 700 kilograms, for example. It would be a smaller consignment of 20 odd kilograms that is then placed onto this floating device. And this floating device is literally just by corrupt seamen on that vessel just thrown overboard. And they sometimes even go as far as have a transponder on this floating device that the smaller vessel's crew can pick up on and then trace this floating device and then uplift it from the sea itself.
Thank you. Okay, so, and we are vulnerable because...
Yes, ma'am.
Paragraph 30.
A further challenge concerns legislation relating to narcotics exhibits. At present, narcotics exhibits must generally be retained until finalization of the criminal proceedings, and that process can take years. Sorry?
Are you expanding on that paragraph? Can you just explain that paragraph as well? You say that the exhibits must be retained until finalized.
Yes.
And the process can...
Yes.
So it's
the process of finalizing the court case.
Of the court case. So yes. It's a long period of time to hold on talking about.
Yes, Commissioner, and obviously the availability of storage is a challenge in that regard.
And are all of these now stored at the forensic?
All of them are stored, but not plants. And if I mean plants, the cat plant and cannabis plants are not stored at forensic. But the powder and tablet form narcotics are indeed being stored at forensic.
So if the challenge is the legislation putting out requires, what would...
Solution contains in the next paragraph.
just before the solution, what you've just said, Colonel, is at odds with evidence that we heard last week. Last week, I will not remember who the officer was, but amongst the officers, someone was pushing for the urgent destruction or disposal of what was believed to be cocaine. I say what was believed because no testing had been done by. And I'm wondering, if, in my mind, when you say that the drugs should be kept until the court process has been finalized, I'm wondering how it is and what basis these officers would have been pushing for destruction or disposal.
One can only, in my experience, Commissioner, one can only destruct and destroy these narcotics after the court case. Reason being, throughout the court case, the defense can ask for to actually see these exhibits.
And maybe test them for themselves as well.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Is it that as a matter of law or instruction, protocol, exhibits such as may not be destroyed?
I'm not sure if it's law. I speak under correction, Commissioner, but it is an instruction, because at the end of the day, if those exhibits are asked for by the defense and we are not able to produce them, that might definitely harm our case in court.
So an officer who asks the laboratory whether a procedure is destroyed before the trial had run knowingly speaks against the instruction, if there is an instruction.
In my opinion, yes.
I'm just thinking, nobody had been arrested in the matter I'm referring to, but it was only about 5 months. Where you do not arrest any suspect, what are the prescripts? When do you give up and when do you then destroy? What's the timeline?
I don't think there's a specific timeline, Commissioner. That will depend on the progress within the investigation. If you've done all your due diligence in terms of your investigation and you can really not arrest anyone on that specific case in terms of ownership, if you would, for this narcotics, then an officer can make a destruction order, and the destruction order is then forwarded to FSL for execution of it.
So that's probably what makes between what you say to be the prescript of keeping, and for how long, and what. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The situation at present is that the instructions are that it must be.
If there's a running court case, yes.
And, okay, so you can continue with what you picked up in your study of jurisdictions, paragraph that.
Thank you, Commissioners. In several foreign jurisdictions, the inter alia include most EU countries, the USA, South America, Australasia. There is legislation that permit the retention of representative and samples for evidence purposes and also for the analysis of these exhibits, and then the rest of the consignment is then destroyed. So a smaller number of the exhibits is then kept, which would make the storage thereof much easier. And I would love to see such legislation in South Africa.
Thank you. The next section.
Listed as a challenge, action, clandestine that come in. Is it because satisfy its ability to both the tools, human, and is no identifiable?
Commissioner, to answer you on that, we have successes, but I will never be satisfied with where we currently stand. I can, for example, we now recently, my unit, with the assistance of crime intelligence, have picked up information of quite a large cannabis farm. And the issue with this drug laboratories is it is run on a very clandestine form of fashion. This farm is, for example, on the, sorry for my in the Bundus. And it's not picked up very easily. And I would agree with you that it is also a challenge, the detection of these drug laboratories. For the most part, crystal meth laboratories one can run out of your garage at your house. And we've picked up some of those as well. So the detection, you're quite right, Commissioner. That would also be a challenge, the proper detection of this. And if you say that I'm satisfied, am I satisfied? I'll never be satisfied until we root all of this out. So it is indeed a challenge. You're quite right.
I think, Colonel, and this is why the next section, because it's related to Baloy's, because part of detection, and so it's not just about investigative capacity, it's about whether investigators actually, and part of, I understand the challenge is why we are here, describe it.
Unfortunately, that's indeed correct.
So this next section on method, commissioners have also heard a little bit about, I think, is a method that was used in the case.
That's correct.
And is it correct that that method works only if there is filtration by law?
Unfortunately.
Can you describe that from paragraph?
Excuse me. It is our understanding that narcotics are frequently concealed in so-called legitimate cargo consignments. This concealment takes place in the country of origin where these containers are packed. That is where the so-called rip-on part of this modus operandi comes to the fore, where drugs are concealed. The Eritton case, for example, it was a container containing body parts for Scania trucks. Scania doesn't have a manufacturing plant in South Africa, but an assembly plant in South Africa. And because of the issue that these containers move a lot at sea, there's a space left between the door of the container and the body parts itself. And that cavity is just over a meter wide. And then we are of the opinion and of the belief, based on what we have picked up and also discussed with colleagues, as I indicated earlier, from other foreign law enforcement agencies, is that when that container then is moved from the owner or the person that rents this container towards the port where the container is shipped from, in that process or in that route, that container is diverted, and it happens very quickly. That's why the rip part of the rip-on happens there, is mentioned there. Then what happens is that this drug consignment is then placed in that cavity. Duplicate seals are then manufactured, and the container is sealed again, because the seal number of a container must correspond with the shipping manifest of that specific container. That container is then placed on a vessel. And in this Eritton case, the vessel left from the port of Santos in Brazil, where the Scania manufacturing plant is in Brazil. So it was transported from this plant to the port of Santos, and from the port of Santos, it came to South Africa, being Durban in KZN. Then, as was indicated, this drug syndicates then have to employ some other person within law enforcement, be that the police, be that customs, SARS or the like, so that they can try and stop this container from going its normal route, to allow them to do the rip-off, where another set of seals is then again used to seal the container again as soon as they rip off this consignment of drugs, and then the container goes on its merry way to the end user of the legitimate cargo within the container.
Provide an example of how that would be the level of custom and SARS enforcement. I mean, how is it that custom would be able to take providing?
Commissioners, what happens is that when these containers land in our ports and a customs or police officer has information or believes that there's something illicit in this container, they put a hold or stop on this container. This container is then moved to a bond yard where a subsequent inspection takes place of the content of this container. Documentation is then completed. Say, for example, they find nothing. The documentation is completed and it's sealed with police seals again, documentation with the new seal numbers, also added then to the shipping manifest, and then it goes away. In the case of the illicit side and the criminal element within the law enforcement environment, they would remove, at the bond yard, they would remove by ripping off this drug consignment, they would remove it and they would seal it again to say, but we found nothing. And they then would distribute it to the drug syndicates for further distribution.
Good morning, Colonel Steyn.
Morning, Commissioner.
What happens when containers get to a port of destination inside? Are they all searched, or you do a random sampling, or do you only search those where you received, let's say, a tip-off that there might be something that could... What happens, what's the procedure when, say, containers from Brazil, 50 of them, from Mexico, 50 of them, land at port in Durban?
Good Commissioner, the Port of Durban, and as I indicated, we have a number of ports. The Port of Durban, on an average day, that time when we had a look at it, deal with, I think, about 4,000 to 4,500 containers a day. So it would make it a task that is not humanly possible to literally check every container. I know that years ago, there used to be scanning devices, for lack of a better explanation. It was huge X-ray machines that can scan these containers. But I'm not sure. I don't think those are in operation any longer.
So we don't search all that. We only search those where you have information that there might be.
Indeed, Commissioner.
Thank you, Colonel. So that concludes, I think, your section then up to paragraph 40. An important point there that you make at the end is the involvement of corrupt officials, if possible, with regards to...
Yeah, Commissioners, in my humble opinion, I do not think these syndicates would be able to deal with the rip-on, rip-off method if corrupt officials are not involved.
Your next section deals with the Scania consignment investigation, and this is not Eritton. So we had in last week, we had Port Shepstone, which also took place in June 2021, pardon me, 22nd of June 21. Then we have the Eritton case, which we're going to come to, which took place on 9 July 2021. In this section, you talk about yet another drug seizure took place at the end of July.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Can you just address that?
During the course of our the Boesens case, which took place in Eritton. Eritton is part of the Boesens Police Precinct. During that investigation, we constantly had contact with the risk management people of Scania. And then to the latter part of July, it was the last week of July, if my memory serves me well, I got a call from at that time the risk manager of Scania, and he indicated to me that there was a container that came in to the harbour. So what happens if a container comes in, the transport company uplifts it from the harbour, it's then taken to their depot. From their depot, transport arrangements is then made throughout the country where this specific container needs to go to. And at that depot, this risk manager indicated to me that there was a lot of police interest in this specific container. Because the container, I think it's got a 17-digit unique number, every container in the world. I think it's 17 digits, I'm speaking under correction, but it's got a unique identification number. And this specific container, there was a lot of law enforcement interest around this container, and he then requested, because of the issue of the 9th of July, he then requested that can the DPCI not get involved in this, to come to this this yard of the transporter to actually deal with the matter so that there's no other law enforcement involvement into this container. Can I continue with...
Why DPCI and not other law enforcement? What was the...
I think my opinion is that Scania was happy with the way that we dealt with the Boesens, the Eritton case. And there was sort of a trust built between the Scania risk management people and the DPCI. So hence the call from their side and assistance requested specifically from the DPCI.
And that was 1 ton of cocaine in that?
Yes, if I can just, would you like me to just continue with that?
That's easier.
Thank you, Advocate. What happened then was that, as I mentioned earlier, I worked through Brigadier Naika, our national coordinator, and in that way I connected, because I was up here, And because the threat, if I can call it that, threat in inverted commas, was imminent down in KZN, I had to make contact with my colleagues in KZN who was actually on or very close to the scene at that stage. So through Brigadier Naika, I got hold of the SANEP coordinators that side and the SANEP team that side, and I linked them and the risk managers of the Scania people, I linked them together, I linked them up with one another. As things would happen, Brigadier Naika was also on an unrelated matter, also down in KZN, and he promised that he would go to the scene himself. And it was similar to the Scania one. It was also body parts, and in that cavity between the parts and the door of the container, they uncovered 999 kilograms of cocaine bricks. That was reported then to me later. And yes, so it's indeed correct. It's basically a ton that they did uncover there, Commissioner.
And did these also originate in Brazil?
Same port, yeah. Yeah, they informed me it was also from the port of Santos in Brazil.
And what happened to that ton of cocaine and that investigation? Where is it at the moment?
I'm not sure what happened to the investigation per se, but that cocaine, through the intervention of Brigadier Naika, he's at our DPCI head office. Through his intervention, the cocaine was the very next morning brought up to Forensic Science Laboratory here in Pretoria. But I'm not sure where that investigation ended up and what was the outcome.
But the drugs are at the cell.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Is SANEP the only narcotics enforcement team across the whole of law enforcement?
Commissioner, no. There is, I cannot talk for other provinces, but Gauteng also has a provincial investigation unit. That provincial investigation unit is part of the, if I can call them, SAPS detectives, not DPCI detectives, and they also do indeed deal with narcotic cases, but usually the drug labs itself is the mandate of the DPCI, and usually when there's major drug busts, the DPCI will in some way, form or fashion also be involved in that investigation. But I think now recently you would have heard over the news that there was a big drug bust at the airport as well by customs and the like. And I think that the detectives that side was dealing with that specific case.
I think there is, just to explain why I asked the question, it is to see whether, is there a reason that you shouldn't have a SANEP kind of, where with every drug bust that SANEP gets called to the scene? And I asked the question because of what happened with the Port Shepstone seizure, and then later Eritton. Do you have all these, for example, with Eritton, your traffic officers, someone from traffic department gets involved with that, and it would seem to me on the face of it that if there is a central point to call to the scene before anything is done, an institution such as, a team such as SANEP would be the appropriate body. So you have one central body. Do you have any comment about that?
Commissioner, that would be the ideal. Unfortunately, we don't live in the ideal world. That would be the ideal. But as I mentioned during the challenges, the issue of manpower within the SANEP environment can be a challenge if that happens, because, you get your smaller drug bust, 10 grams here and 20 grams there, which would totally overload the SANEP personnel. So, but it would be ideal if one could have enough manpower for one central point. Yes, I would agree with you, Commissioner.
And I suppose, Colonel, to the Commissioner's question, I can see how it would be overwhelming. It could be a threshold at which it is appropriate for SANEP, the coordinating body, to respond very expeditiously to the scene, because of the size of the seizure and the consequences if that crime scene not managed. So there would be an alternative with a threshold amount. I don't know what that would be, but would that be a possibility?
Commissioners, yes. At the end of the day, when you talk about a big consignment, and specifically something like heroin or cocaine, that is not grown in South Africa, the plant itself is not grown in South Africa, it is a situation where these drug trafficking then happens across international borders. And as soon as that happens, it would be a DPCI matter, yes.
Okay, thank you. So the next section now is the Eritton scene. Can you begin at paragraph 46, and we'll just go through this more slowly.
Thank you, Commissioners. Yeah, what I'm stating in paragraph 46 is based on, firstly, the knowledge that I picked up during my participation in the initial investigation, my interaction with the investigating officer as he was working under my command at that stage. I also, as the team leader for that section or that team, did the docket inspection for the most part at the early stage. It was also based on reports that I read that inter alia included that of General Gerber and that of IPID. So I can explain what happened was that, and if the Commissioner can just bear with me, I cannot recall all these specific names, so I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it correctly. But during the morning of, it actually started on the 8th of July, the night of the 8th of July, when this Gauteng traffic chief, Mr. Mashaba, made inquiries at the yard of the transport company. So then, when this container would arrive from, in this case, from KZN, and it arrives after office hours, if you would, of the recipient or the owner of the content of this, that container would be kept at the yard of the transport company and taken to their client the very next morning within office hours. So that container was there that evening, and what then happened was that this traffic official made inquiries about the container, and he was told that they cannot assist him because he didn't have a warrant of search warrant. They cannot assist him, but he's more than welcome to be there the next morning when this container is moved to Scania to then deal with Scania, because Scania was their client, and then make further arrangements with Scania. On the 9th of July in the morning, that container was then moved to the premises of Scania. The yard of the transporter was in Rudekop, which is in the east of Johannesburg, and Eritton is more just to the south of Johannesburg itself. And it was then moved there in the morning, and then Mr. Mabasa claimed that he contacted certain police officers.
You mean
Mashaba.
Mr. Mashaba?
Sorry, Mashaba. My apologies, Commissioners. He claimed that he contacted certain police officers to assist him.
Sorry, Colonel, let me just, before you move to 46.1,
Yes.
refers to Mr. Nku, who contacted Mr. Mashaba. Now, who is he?
If my memory serves me well, he was an informant to Mr. Mashaba.
So he's a civilian,
Yes,
and he's an informant.
yes.
And do you know, having been involved in the investigations, why he would contact the traffic chief instead of someone more senior in the SAPS, HAWKS, Scania?
Commissioners, I wouldn't have an answer why you would do that.
Okay, so he gets contacted, Mr. Mashaba gets by a civilian with information about drugs that are contained, that are on the, and then you say they then go to the site where it's with,
Correct.
and now you go to when he says they contacted other police officers to assist.
That's correct.
When did he contact those police officers?
As far as I can recall, he contacted them on the morning of the 9th for assistance. Some of the people that he contacted apparently was not able to assist him, and then he waited at Yellow Jersey. Now, Yellow Jersey is the name of the transport company that transported the container from KZN to Gauteng and then to the end user being Scania. And I also stated here that there was an unsuccessful attempt to search the container. As I indicated, the people at Yellow Jersey indicated to him that he does not have a search warrant, so he must rather deal with the end user being Scania.
So Yellow Jersey is the transport logistics.
Correct.
And the truck was initially at their premises in Rudekop.
Correct, Commissioner.
And he says he contacted Officer Pongwana for assistance. Do you know that member?
I do not know that member.
Do you know what component, which section he works in is responsible?
Not the DPCI, but I cannot recall. I recall that the one member was part of he was sort of an administrative post at a police station in the Vaal. That is the one I can remember. The other member was a member of the national. There was a national investigation team at that stage running, and he was part of that investigation team. That is what I can recall. I cannot recall who was where, but I remember those two entities that these people worked at.
Okay, so I just want to be a bit more specific about these people. So he first contacted Officer Pongwana. He couldn't assist, and he referred Mr. Mashaba to Sir Mahane. That right?
That's what I picked up out of the reports, yes.
And you say Mr. Mahane was initially unable to assist.
That's what I picked up from the reports. I was not privileged to that conversation that the two of them had.
Okay, but he then did join Mr. Mashaba.
As far as I remember, yes.
And where he joined Mr. Mashaba was at the Yellow Jersey premises.
I would not know where exactly he joined them, but according to what I can recall, he joined them at the Scania premises in Eritton.
Okay, so 46.3, it was, maybe if you read 46.4,
Okay, yeah.
you can read it into the record.
Mr. Magana initially was unable to assist, but later joined Mr. Mashaba and Mr. Nku at Yellow Jersey, where the truck was stopped. Following an unsuccessful attempt to search the container at Yellow Jersey, it was agreed between the shipping company and the officers at the truck, the truck transporting the container, proceed on a police escort to Scania, being the final destination of the shipment.
Okay, so the unsuccessful attempt here is what you were describing earlier, was that the Yellow Jersey officials said that they prevented them from, because there was no search warrant, prevented them and said, you can deal with it with the end destination, Scania.
That's indeed correct, Commissioner.
So, and it says proceeded on the police escort to Scania. Who was the police escort?
As far as my knowledge goes, except for Mr. Mashaba and company, there was no police escort per se. It was a security security personnel from Yellow Jersey that escorted the truck, because the personnel at Yellow Jersey was uncomfortable with this whole line of inquiry. I think, if my memory serves me well, that was the reason why they sent a security officer in a separate vehicle with the truck to Scania.
So, what would have been the appropriate response at that point? You've got a traffic, you've got a police officer. What would have been the appropriate protocol for them to follow at that point at Yellow Jersey?
At Yellow Jersey, I would have placed the seize on the truck, and I would have obtained a search warrant, and I would have searched the truck at Yellow Jersey.
So this thing of saying, well, we'll just follow you to the next destination is clearly.
If you have solid evidence, why would you allow them to do that? There's a lot of things that can happen en route from Yellow Jersey to Scania. And if the consignment was that big, I would have stopped the truck from leaving and wait for the courts to be available, give my evidence in writing to the courts, and then apply for a search warrant for that specific truck at the premises of Yellow Jersey.
Instead, what they did was they allowed.
Also, you are able to do a search and seizure even without a warrant if you have a tangible basis for doing so. And if you fear that waiting for a warrant might defeat the purpose of the search and seizure.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. But at the end of the day, one would, sorry, can I continue, Commissioner? What one would like to do is to, if you have the opportunity to then get people there, secure the truck, then rather apply for a warrant. It's a safer route to take, and we prefer to take the safer route rather than to take the route as explained by your good self.
I wanted to ask a follow-up question. Do the traffic police have authority to search containers for drugs? Isn't there a unit that is responsible for that they call the matter? While he waits at the scene, obviously, the scene does not move or drugs are not taken out of. But as a matter of principle, I had always understood that traffic police deal with traffic on the road. When it comes to containers being at, in this case, it would be the yard of Yellow Jersey, which is the company that is transporting the container from port to its place of destination. Do traffic police have authority to just call a random policeman and a random security guard to come and help them search the container?
No, Commissioner, that is not standard operating procedure, no. So I will agree with you to say that if I was in issues, I would definitely have called a lot of people. I would have started with the local police station and then escalate the thing, as I indicated on one of the previous questions, at least to the Provincial Investigation Unit dealing with narcotics. And if I see the size of the consignment of the searching, I would definitely involve the DPCI on that matter.
Because it raises suspicion that traffics are themselves.
Indeed.
Colonel, we've had evidence that the traffic law enforcement space, their functions in crime. And so with that, the answer that they don't have authority if they happen upon drug consignment, it seems to me we may have distinguished between what prudent and what included law. Maybe if we could just clarify that, because we've had quite extensive evidence, which was the point of it, the essence of it. They are not just about traffic enforcement. Crime have the power to deal with it.
Commissioner, yes, but I think the same goes for a normal member of the public. If a crime happens in their presence, they can act on it, but they still need to involve the police. If my memory serves me well, a traffic officer also is just allowed to operate in the area that is designated for. In this instance, I would have definitely standard operating procedure would have caused him to actually call especially when he's a senior person, to call the right people to the scene. I mean, even private security companies is also not mandated per se, but their main operation is to assist with crime prevention. But they don't do that on their own. They do that in collaboration with the South African Police Service.
And then a related question. The chief of traffic, such as, are people in that position, and maybe traffic to limited position, do they have training how to handle drug situations such as this? Ordinarily, the SAPS or the DPCI drug seizure first. Is someone in that trained? Does their training include dealing with enforcement such as seizure?
Commissioner, I cannot elaborate on the specific training that this chief has undergone. But generally speaking, I'm of the opinion that I don't think so. But again, it's my opinion. I cannot elaborate on the specific training or the history in law enforcement that the specific officer has undergone. But again, if I'm unsure about anything I do, example, I mentioned earlier that I oversee illicit mining, for example, and I'm no specialist on illicit mining. So I would approach someone that's a specialist on illicit mining to say, listen, I have this situation, or I believe that I've got information on such a situation. Can you please come and assist? So I cannot elaborate on his training, but I can just say what I would have done in his shoes, Commissioner.
I guess what I'm trying to get out of you is whether across the different areas of law enforcement, including traffic? Is it general training? Is there general training about handling drug scenes? That training that is what specialized teams or units are training about?
To answer your question, I believe not. Why I'm saying this is that on 2 occasions now, I myself have, on request of personnel from the MSc of Safety and Security Gauteng's office, I have been requested to give sort of in-service training. The first time it was 3 days, the second time it was 2 days, to give in-service training to the traffic officers and even to the traffic wardens, and I know this is also a point of contention in Gauteng, but to give training to them, a very basic training, because that type of training takes years, because you have to build up specific experience and the like, but to give them sort of just a sense on what to do. And one of the things I definitely mentioned there is, if you come across a drug lab, for example, or if you come across a large consignment of narcotics, where would you believe is narcotics, because you cannot look at narcotics or at powder and say this is definitely narcotics. One of the things I definitely mentioned to them there is that, guys, you need to contact the correct people. Here's the people that you need to talk to, and here's how you deal with it. Rather safeguard the crime scene and get the people with the proper training in.
Lastly, and maybe there's a way in which it with what you say, lastly, does it mean therefore that there is no protocol which guides a member on the spot, either comes upon information, drugs, who they should call next, how they should process that? You earlier on spoke about one of the people that Mr. Mashaba called to the scene. Is an administrator, if I heard you, was someone in an administrative capacity station in the Val, like you said. We've had cases where someone is called a friend because they say, well, I know that friend is always available. Friend in this still. I know they were seen. I think here we also have someone is called to the scene. So does that mean there are no protocol that would guide the police officer, whether traffic or the person, that when you happen upon this, your next line call, reinforcement report, is your immediate command? It has to be somebody within the jurisdiction, within your police state. There's nothing.
Commissioner, no, but at the end of the day, a senior person like Mr. Mashaba, do I pronounce it correctly? Yeah. Would, in my humble opinion, ought to have known that at the end of the day, you cannot call someone that does analysis, crime stats analysis at a police station to come and assist him with major drug information. So there's nothing in writing per se, but if you know that you're going to sit with a major crime scene, you have to follow crime scene management protocols. And then if I have that type of information, I'd love to have someone with me that can actually deal with the correct protocols in terms of crime scene management. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. So what happens here, in fact, is none of that. Instead, the civilian employee of yellow jersey is able to issue an instruction and say, we're going. Yeah. Come or don't come, but we are going. That's what happened.
Yes, Commissioner.
And so then they arrive at Eritton, which is where the Scania warehouse is. Okay, so 46.5 came to that.
Upon arrival at Scania, the two officers, Mashaba and Manganye, allegedly opened the container and later claimed the bags containing narcotics fell from within the container, necessitating the bags to be loaded onto Officer Manganye's vehicle. It's an unmarked black van. It was a Nissan bakkie.
Let's just pause here. You say later claimed that bags fell from the container. Were there other witnesses? The bags did actually fall off. You were able to stand.
Yeah, they, as far as my memory serves me, Commissioners, the personnel at Scania was instructed by Officer Mashaba to open the back of the container when these bags fell out. And as I said earlier, you cannot, by looking at a bag, say this bag contains narcotics.
Let's have a look at those bags. How many bags?
Yeah, I must lie to you, but it's 20 odd bags.
So this is a photograph at page 4 of the exhibit bundle. Are these the bags that fell off the container?
That is indeed correct. I didn't see the bags fell off the container. These bags were on this black bakkie when I arrived at the scene, but these were the bags that I was told fell out of the container.
Do you know the source of this?
The source of this photograph, when I was informed that I'm going to be in front of the Commission, I asked around some of my old team members if anyone still had photographs of the crime scene, because I had a problem with my phone. It was destroyed, it fell off the car's roof on the highway, so it was destroyed. So I didn't have photographs anymore. So one of my members, Warrant Officer Morris, actually forwarded the photographs that I submitted to the Commission's team. And this was one of the photographs. These are indeed the bags that was at the back of the black bakkie.
These are not actual bags, are they?
No, Commissioners, these are not actual bags. It's sort of black rubbish bags as we know them, combined with a very broad type sticky tape that these bags are manufactured with. It's not normal bags. Even the handles of these bags are made with that sticky tape and the black bags.
If we turn to the next photograph, page 5, can you tell us what we are looking at here?
What you're looking at here is the content of those black bags. That would typically be what was later established to be a brick of cocaine.
So what it looks like, confirm, is that, because this looks like a canvas bag with a zip, is that inside rubbish?
That would be correct, Commissioners. I think why they do this, I also asked the question, why they do this is, remember there's a lot of moisture when these bags are at sea. And it's sort of to protect that canvas bag with the wrapping. In the right-hand corner from my side, one can clearly see the black tape that was used to cover those bags.
So inside the black canvas bag is this brick that's also wrapped in plastic.
That's correct, yeah,
And that brick has got a picture on it.
Yes.
And what is that?
I think there's a picture of the two types of brick pictures that we got. That is a Red Bull. I think the other photograph, if you would, is maybe I think the next photograph shows
So page 6 is just another example of the bricks.
Yes.
And this is a particular insignia.
Particular insignia, that is a Red Bull.
And what is the significance?
The significance of this we picked up is that, excuse me, the end users, being the drug syndicate, specific syndicates have specific insignia that they request is put on to their product that is exported into our country for them. The other photograph, on one of the other photographs, you will see there's a black seagull on a white background.
I just
So it's for specific parts of the syndicate.
Have you seen this particular insignia, the Red Bull?
Variations on the bull, but not the specific one.
What type of variation?
You would get it's also a Red Bull, but it's more like, a refined picture of only head of a Red Bull, or a Red Bull standing in the air, or, more than that one, or a more refined picture of a Red Bull and the like. So it's not it can mean that it was for different sections within the syndicate, or even a different syndicate that comes in on the same consignment.
So, thank you. The next picture, so that's just another picture of, I'm assuming that these are the bricks that came out of that bag.
Correct, yes.
So that would be 11 bricks. Oh no, because they're stacked. There's more than you stacked.
They look like 31, because they look like three stacks high and two, like 31.
31. So the canvas carry bag carries about 6.
That seems to be.
All right, so the next photograph on page 8, right, this is, can you tell us what?
What we're looking at is, again, some of the Red Bull bricks, as well as a brick with insignia of a black seagull, looks like a seagull, on a white background.
Have you seen this insignia?
No, I haven't seen this specifically.
And then turn to page 9. What are we looking at?
What we're looking at here is all the bags now unpacked. We counted the bricks, and then the bricks were then sealed in official exhibit bags. And it is those exhibit bags containing the bricks that you're seeing in that picture.
Okay, so those are now all the bricks in the exhibit bags. And this is at Eritton still, right? That location, where exactly is that?
At the Scania premises in Eritton, that's correct, Commissioners.
At which point you've done all yours?
We did not at that stage determine it was cocaine per se, but out of previous experience, Commissioner, we believed that this was bricks of cocaine weighing more or less a kilogram, no? And I put in my statement, although it would be determined by a forensics analysis. But out of experience, there's nothing else that they pack in this form.
So the eye test.
Yeah, it's not like I remember when other witnesses, you asked if you do the tongue test. That only happens in movies.
Okay, so we're going to come back to the crime scene and how this was handled. But for now, I just want to follow your statement. These are we know now, these are the bags that fell out of the container. Let's just go back in time now. So they arrive, they open the container, the bags fall out of the. Can you just go to 46.6?
Two officers were then joined by another officer, Pakula.
And you met Officer Pakula when you arrived on the scene later.
Warrant Officer Pakula was pointed out to me by then Captain Sebola, now Lieutenant Colonel Sebola, who was the investigating officer and at that stage crime scene manager, as one of the people that he was intending to arrest.
So did he arrive, do you recall at what point he arrived?
He was already there when I arrived, so I'm not sure when
That was much
he arrived.
later. So at this point, we've already established what should have happened at earlier points, this train of. Now you open a container and these bags fall out. There's good reason to suspect drugs.
Absolutely.
What should have happened at that point
Well,
in terms of crime scene protocol?
Actually, Commissioners, before that point, and I think General Flynn also testified to that, what should have happened is that the seals and the sealed container should have been photographed first and foremost. Then when it's opened and these things fall out, everyone move back and let's photograph what happened here now. And each step of the way should have been photographed.
So the commissioners have taken through a little bit the crime scene protocols and nationals last week. From my understanding, and please confirm, correct me, that is important. The first thing one does on the Professor Francois protocol on seizure of illicit drugs, the first thing you do is you secure the scene.
Absolutely.
Was it?
No, it was.
Okay, let's just go back to crime scene, paragraph 1.7.
During the time the officers were busy with this, sorry?
Before you do that,
Sorry,
I should
Commissioner.
have asked. What is photographing container while it's still sealed? And can you just explain why you?
Very plain and simple to show that if there's going to be a court case, to show that that seal is still intact. And to the best of whoever's knowledge, crime scene manager knowledge, that there was no tampering with that seal up to that point, to try and establish that, yeah.
Up to the point when the police.
Indeed, correct.
I think at this point, maintain resume at 11:05.
Chair.
That's a check.
So it's CJC 203, from CJC 203 to CJC 225. May I request that all of those?
So what?
Thank you. Colonel, we were at paragraph 46.7 of your statement this afternoon. Could you read that paragraph into the record?
During the time the officers were busy at the scene, a call was made to 10111 alleging hijacking of a truck by bogus police. 10111 dispatched officers from Boyston's police station. Boyston's police station approached these officers on the scene, and there seemed to have been a disagreement regarding where the exhibits and the suspect would be taken. There were also allegations that the 3 officers on scene had loaded the drugs on the scene in order to leave with the drugs.
Okay, so the allegation here is that the bags that were loaded onto the black were going to be.
That is indeed correct.
So I would like to, in fact, let's just pick that out from the record. If we could just turn to page 96 of the bundle, and that is a page in the report by Major General Harbour. And if you look at page 96, right at the bottom, let me know when you're there.
I'm there.
Okay, so it's the last paragraph on that page. And here he is relating information he received from Officer Lieutenant Colonel Sabola. And in the last paragraph, if you could just read the last paragraph.
I was called to the scene by Lieutenant Colonel Ludik. Is it that paragraph?
Yes, sir.
He arrived at the scene and found several police vehicles and members. He was introduced to Sergeant Ndau, who was in charge, and handed the scene over to him. The scene was explained, as well as those implicated. He was informed by Sergeant Ndau that the members wanted to leave the scene, and he parked his vehicle in front of the Nissan. He interviewed all the suspects and obtained their explanation.
Okay, thank you. So it was Sergeant Ndau who was the scene when he arrived. His evidence says that the officers on the scene, the first officers on the scene, that would be the traffic chief, Shaba, and Officer Mahane, and Officer
Correct,
were allegedly wanting to leave the scene, remove the drugs. Is that
in terms of this report here?
in terms of what Sergeant Ndau relayed?
To Captain.
Yes. Okay. So let's look at Flying Squad two-way radio conversation base. And you'll find that if we start at page 27, and you'll see page 27 is a statement by a Ms. Bukelwa, and she provides a report of action base, a Flying Squad.
Yes, Ms. Together with the page number, please also CJC.
Thank you. Yes, this is CJC.
And the earlier one which stepped.
That was CJC 216, and it was investigation report by page 90. So, Colonel, if we could look at CJC 209, statement of Ms. Bukelwa, page 27, you find her statement, and she had been requested to provide the two-way radio.
see that.
And if you turn then to page 30, the actual radio conversation is described, and it begins, and this is important because what it does is it starts to give us a timeline on the days it began to happen. So here, the radio conversation begins at 8:23 in the morning. Is that correct?
According to the record, yes.
And if you could just read, so it's marked, the paragraphs, each exchange is marked 1, 2, and so on. Can you just begin with 2.1?
At 8:23 and 30 seconds a.m., Zulu 1 desk 4 Mike called Bravo Sierra 12 Control.
Okay, so do you know who Bravo Sierra 12 Control
No.
was? Actually, I believe it was Sergeant Doe. Yeah, it was Sergeant Doe. It's also in his statement. We don't need to go there for now. Can you tell me why would he have been?
I don't.
Okay, and if you just continue.
2.2, it's 22 seconds, 08:23:22. Zulu 1 desk 4M called Bravo Sierra.
Okay.
So it will have been a double one. If they don't hear it the first time, they will call a second time.
And then 2.3.
At 08:23:28, Bravo Sierra 12 said controller Bravo Sierra 12, good morning.
So is now this the response?
He's now responding to their call.
And then at 2.4.
That is at 08:23, 33 seconds AM, Zulu 1, desk 4M, said, Eritton, are you going Eritton?
5.
At 08:23, 39 seconds, Bravo Sierra 12 said positive.
What does that mean?
In other words, it's positive that he is going to Eritton. Answering them, are you going to Eritton in 2.4? Say positive control. In other words, he's going to Eritton. 2.6 said Nasrek Road next to Shell Garage. You will find Chris, stand by. You will find Chris from trucking hijacking occurred at the Shell Garage. Contact number Chris 072 132 9663 IR 1141809.
Okay, I mean, about hijacking at Shell Garage, is that correct?
It seems to look like that, yes.
Does this have to do with the incident concerned about it?
I'm not sure, but there was issues, if my memory serves me well, that I think the people at Scania then started phoning the police to say that there might be a truck hijacking because of the following.
So this would have been at the time when they were en route
To Eritton.
to Eritton.
Yes, ma'am.
I see. Okay.
Commissioners.
So this is taking place at roughly 20.
8:23.
Can you just then pick it up again at 10:30?
2.13, that would be at 10:13 and 20 seconds AM. Bravo Sierra 12 said, yes, controller. Can they have permission with Bravo Sierra JOC?
Do you know what that's about?
The JOC is the Joint Operations Center, so they wanted to make a report to JOC, and if one person needs to speak to another, the control center needs to be asked for permission.
So what had happened here was that Sergeant Doe would have called the joint operator.
Per radio, yeah.
And would that be an appropriate response?
If he wanted to make a specific report or explain a situation, that would be the one to.
2.15.
That would be at 10:13 and 32 seconds. Bravo Sierra 12 said yes, control. They are calling JOC from that complaint. They are still busy there. They will inform the control when they are done. Can they proceed with Bravo Sierra JOC?
And then there's a series back and forth at 10:30, 11, 19, 20. As I understand this, it's the controller asking for a report back
On
as
what
to
is-
what's taken place.
That's how it looks like to me as well.
And it culminates, for our purposes, at 2.30. Read that.
2.30, the time they reach 11:23 and 22 seconds. Bravo Sierra 12 said yes. Bravo Sierra 12 at that complaint, Eritton, truck hijacking. The truck was not hijacked. The truck was being escorted by police. They suspected that there was something wrong under the truck and that the truck was opened and found drugs inside the truck. The driver will be arrested. There's only one suspect.
Pause there for that's now at 11. So by now the truck has arrived, the drugs have fallen out, and this is the report back. And according to this sergeant, there's only one suspect. And in addition, he says the driver will be arrested. Would it be right to read that as driver of the truck?
That's how it looks to me.
Would the driver of the truck been arrested normally?
Not necessarily. One would first have a look at what role he played, if any, in terms of the transportation of it. But I think that report, if I read through the report, seemingly Bravo Sierra 12 had an interview with these people that were following the truck from Eritton, from Rudekop to Eritton. And that was what they told him, that it's not a truck hijacking, but that they have discovered drugs and that they're going to arrest the driver. They meaning, the deduction I'm making, it would be Mashaba.
The driver of the truck was not arrested, as we to learn.
Correct.
Can you explain why? So you said that normally the driver would not be arrested. I mean, I'm asking this because you've got a vehicle. You now have established that there's drugs on. Maybe the driver should be arrested. The driver will be questioned.
Definitely questioned, not necessarily arrested.
And was the driver questioned?
To my knowledge, yes, he was. There should be a statement from him in the docket.
So this scene is now, say, that this started and arrived at Eritton roughly is around towards by 9 o'clock.
It seems like it.
So the crime scene starts pretty early in the night.
Indeed, correct.
Okay. So can you just then go to 46?
46.
Colonel, before you do that, this page 30, this is a call to 10111. Is that what this is?
A radio call to 10111, yes, Commissioner.
And would it have been available to Mr. Mashaba to have made a call to this same requesting assistance, the scene? How does it work?
The system in essence would work as follows. He would be able to make a telephone call to 10111, or he would be able to, maybe if he's got a traffic department radio with him, he would be able to call into his control center and request to be patched through to to the 10-111 center.
He does have a means. He had a means to call in someone.
Absolutely, even via phone, yes.
Now, this transcript here on page 30, I've tried to follow Hassim. It's very difficult for me to form a picture of, in fact, what was happening. We know from Mr. Sim that B, Bravo, Sierra. What is a summary?
If I read through it and if I, with my experience, try to, excuse me, to make sense of this, is what happened was that a call came through, and in the 10-111 center, they know where the vehicles are. So the 10-111 center would naturally call a vehicle close to the scene and say, please go and have a look, please respond. We have a report of a truck hijacking at this specific address. Then Bravo Sierra 12 responded, and seemingly they then had a conversation with this, with Mr. Mashaba and company, and they received the explanation of why are they following the truck, and it's not a truck hijacking. And then eventually there at 11:23, it was said that they have indeed escorted the truck, and the police, in my opinion, refers there to themselves, Mr. Mashaba and the people, and that they believed that there was something wrong with the truck, and that when they opened the truck, they found that there was drugs inside the truck, and they were of the view that the suspect in this case would be the truck driver.
They would have been responding, he had explained.
That's what it looks like to me.
Maybe can I just clarify that a little further? Is it not that Sergeant Ndo went to the scene and that he was looking back rather than Mashaba really fired? Right? He goes to the scene. He responds to the.
Yes.
He calls Jock. So he establishes what's happening, and he's obviously had to get back to, which is why they then call him a couple of hours later to get a report back. And I skipped over it, and maybe that wasn't very helpful, because what it shows is that, as I see it, the radio controller saying that the supervisors are in the call center to be able to close off the complaint.
Yeah.
So they call back to him, report back, and then he reports back with what he's.
If I read this thing, it's clear to me, in my opinion, that Sergeant Ndau must have interviewed people to establish what exactly was going on.
Thank you. So we know now there are more, because the officers dispatched to the scene are now arriving. Can you then go to paragraph 4
of my document? Okay. To complicate matters further, Scania Security also called a highway patrol vehicle which was conducting a roadblock nearby, or near the scene.
So in addition, these officers, Sergeant Ndo and Jock, we've got the Scania people additional to the highway. Do you know whether it was just one highway?
I'm not sure if it was only one highway patrol vehicle, but if my memory serves me well, there was indeed a roadblock conducted by the Boysons people, the Boysons police personnel in the vicinity, and it was the highway patrol vehicle and some other marked uniform vehicles that responded with the highway patrol. I'm not sure how many, but if my memory serves me well, there was more than one vehicle responding.
And then
46.9, more and more law enforcement officers came to the scene, including a K9 unit member.
So the K9 arrives, and a statement by Sergeant who says that he K9 and that it was his brother's.
If my memory serves me well, yes.
So now we've got a K9 unit on the scene. Did they conduct it with the narcotic dog?
I'm not sure if they did indeed conduct, because remember at that stage I was still not on. But yeah, I was not on scene, so I cannot really comment on if they did the inspection, yes or no.
Should they have?
It would have been a good idea.
Because that's the point of having a narcotic, at least at a preliminary level, establish whether the crime scene.
And search for other drugs that was not maybe the ones falling out of the container.
I mean, it's possible that they might have more at the back of.
Indeed, correct.
Okay, so I just want to know whether you are aware that there are allegations, I'm sure you're aware of. There were allegations by several members of the scene that Khan prevented a K9 unit conducting.
I cannot comment on that because, again, I was not there at that stage. I didn't specifically hear that. But, and again, at the time I arrived at the crime scene, General Khan was no longer on the.
But you confirm that the K9 unit should have been.
It's always a good idea.
Thanks. So then we can now go to 410.
Later, DPCI members went to the scene, including members that I had instructed to attend to the scene. Pursuant to my conversation with General Katwa, excuse me, as set out in my main affidavit. The scene was contained with many people, in brackets police and civilian, in order in and around the scene.
I think you said contained instead of.
The scene was, thank you, Commissioner, I appreciate. The scene was contaminated. There was way too many people at the crime scene, Commissioner, so yeah, it was indeed contaminated by too many people, police and civilian, in and around the scene.
Okay, so you say pursuant to your conversation with Kadwa, he instructed in the scene. It was General.
Commissioners, that's indeed correct. He phoned me. My original statement also indicated that he phoned me around 11 o'clock to indicate that there was a major drug crime scene that he wanted me and my team to attend to. And as I indicated in my original statement, I was then en route to a meeting in Midrand. I informed him of such, and I then gave my 2IC at the time he was Lieutenant Colonel Ludik. I gave him an instruction to phone the general, get the details, and activate the standby section of the SONET team at that stage.
We'll come back to
Thank you,
your
Commissioner.
arrival. I just for now want to establish it was General Kadwa, and it was General Khan who called General Kadwa.
I was informed like that by General.
So you say then the scene was, and you say police and civilians. How is it that civilians would have access to a crime scene?
A very small portion of, when I arrived, a very small portion of the scene was cordoned off. So the only piece that was cordoned off was the black bakkie standing next to the truck with container on the back. That was the only portion that was cordoned off. But it is advisable to make quite substantial cordoning around a scene like that.
In fact, if I could take you to the national instruction included file, Chair, it's CJC 219, and it could go specifically to 130.
There.
This is under a section of the national instruction called the controlling phase. The first responders should, but 11 subsection 3 says the first responder must secure and protect the crime scene by A, establishing an inner core around the perimeter of the crime scene, as well as an outer core around to enable members to perform their tasks within the inner cordon. Now, because this crime scene has, as I understand, immediate where the drugs.
Indeed.
And then there's a around itself and immediate vicinity outside the warehouse. Also can you help to understand whether this was complied with inner and
To an extent, the inner cordon was complied with, but the outer cordon definitely not.
what would it
As I indicated, Commissioners, the outer cordon would be a little bit of a wider area because it's like, certain people with specific taskings would be allowed in the inner cordon, whereas other people with other taskings, maybe just taking statements and the like, would be in the outer.
So maybe what would help is if we look,
Yes.
let's attach to this statement. So that would be CJC 207, at page 21.
20.
The sketch plan is, we could just start at 21.
My apologies.
It's a statement of warrant officer. Tell us.
Warrant Officer Wood at that time was the standby member for LCRC, the local criminal records for that specific area.
So again, the Commission has heard a little bit about the local, so this is in person to arrive on.
Absolutely, to assist with photographs and fingerprint and the like.
And if you see at paragraph 4, she says, in fact, if you
On 2021-0709 at 11:45, due to a request of Warrant Officer Rigotso, I attended an alleged crime scene, an alleged scene of crime at Omena Park, Aeroton Drive, Eritton.
Now, when I read this, I read it as saying that at 11:45, result of her, she entered the scene, so that she was there at 11:45.
My comment, Commissioners, would be as follows. When I arrived at the crime scene, one of the things that the investigating officer, Captain Sibola at that time, Captain, requested me was to find out what the delay was in LCRC's arrival on the scene. And remember, my original statement would indicate that I only arrived at about 1. So I then made a call to the officers, and I said, if my memory serves me well, that this individual was just busy on another scene, but is en route.
So she wasn't there when you arrived?
I did not see her there, and the investigating officer also.
And you
because
arrived at around 1 o'clock? So,
I arrived at about 1.
So this paragraph 4, at 11:45, it's not correct. Maybe she got a call at 11.
I think that would be more correct.
So then we have the crime scene. Page 2 is the index to the sketch, and then 23 is the sketch. What are we looking at?
This would have been the crime sketch of the crime scene at the time when Warrant Officer Wood was on the crime scene and what she has observed.
And we see in the sketch the alphabet. Can you just tell us from the sketch which is the container?
That would be A.
And what is
B would be the black bakkie.
E?
E would be one of the vehicles. I think that was Okula's vehicle, if my memory serves me well. It was a red Kia. Yes, it was a red Kia.
So that's is a vehicle of one of the. And then if we look a little further down, those are 2 other vehicles. And according to Officer Wood, C is VW to a suspect.
If my memory serves me well, Commissioner, C was the GTI Golf driven by the traffic Masaba.
So C is Mashaba's, and next to Mashaba's a silver BMW. That
Mr. Mashaba's vehicle, we talked about it earlier. What's her name was?
So they parked near each other. How big is this area?
It is quite a big area. That inner area there, I would say, is at least twice the size of venue in width, and maybe 3 tons.
If you were to describe, based on this sketch, where the
inner cordon would typically be from the container in front of vehicle E, around vehicle A, and there where it's written on the sketch where warehouse 7 starts. The outer cordon would be from the outside of, in my opinion, from the outside of warehouse 7, the top line of warehouse 7 to at least the bottom line of warehouse 4, and then I would also have cordoned off vehicle C and B.
Okay, so quite a large area. And that, you say, was not...
The outer cordon was not cordoned off on my arrival.
Do you know why it wasn't? Who was in charge of...
At the time that I arrived there, I was informed that Captain Sibola, the crime scene manager, and so he was in charge at that time.
So, I mean, this is disturbing because when you arrived, it's 1 o'clock. So many hours have gone by as the radio, two-way radio started. This is 1 o'clock when you arrived. That happened. So, read
Before you
Sorry, Commissioner, I didn't hear you.
in an operations this where information occurred to Mr. Mashaba, got the info the 8th, the first time, his informer. You've testified what happened on the 8th search.
Correct.
The following day, escort his vehicle truck to Scania. Can you think of a reason why informer on the scene, crime scene?
I cannot think. It's actually, in my opinion, it's not a good thing to have an informer on the crime scene because then you can expose him. And an informer is supposed to be a person in the background and not to be exposed on the physical crime scene.
So ordinarily they wouldn't be, in your experience.
In my experience, definitely.
And when you arrived, was the informer still in the...
Yes.
Come back to it. So, let's do 11.
As mentioned, Captain Sibola, now Lieutenant Colonel Sibola, was designated to the designated investigating officer and took over the crime scene as the crime scene manager. After interviewing the 3 officers on the scene, he was of the view that the reasons for their presence was unsatisfactory and that they ought to be arrested for dealing in drugs. He then took over that process while I assisted with the exhibit processes as outlined in my main statement.
So this is the appropriate place now for us to go to. We go to that. So you now deal with your involvement. And I'd like you to go to paragraph.
I'm there.
All right. So can you read the paragraph?
On Friday, 2021, 0709, at about 1100 hours, I received a call from the provincial head DPCI Gauteng, Major General Kadwa. The general informed me that there was a narcotics crime scene that he needed me and my team to attend to. The scene was at the premises of Scania Trucks in Eritton, south of Johannesburg. He informed me that a large consignment of drugs was found in the back of a container truck, in brackets shipping container. I was at a meeting in Midrand and informed the general as such. I then instructed my second in command, Lieutenant Colonel Ludik at the time, telephonically to contact General Kadwa and arrange the standby members and himself to attend the scene.
And did he?
It was reported to me that he actually drove to the scene with General Kadwa.
And did they arrive with standby members?
He did arrive with standby members, and I found him and the standby members at the scene when I arrived there at about 1 o'clock. Because of the mentioned meeting I was involved in, I arrived at the scene at about 1 o'clock on the same day. I found a large number of police officers on scene, uniform and detected. Also on scene was members of my team, Brigadier Sekubela. The Brigadier is the DPCI Serious Organized Crime Provincial Commander and in essence my direct commander. Also there was General Kadwa, the provincial DPCI provincial head.
And what was the scene? What did you see you arrive? You tell us what.
Like I stated earlier, there was a lot of police officers, a lot of police vehicles there. And I would describe it as close to chaotic.
About how many?
44 easy.
And this area that you said that had not been.
Indeed, correct.
So further.
Further contamination. I approached Lieutenant Colonel Ludik, who briefed me on the situation of the scene, and he also indicated to me in my absence he appointed Captain Sibola, now Lieutenant Colonel, as the investigating officer. I approached Captain Sibola as the arrangement is that the investigating officer on scene is the scene manager, and I offered my assistance and help to him.
Let's pause you there for a moment. Why did Delegate Scene to you had given him an instruction and managed.
Indeed, but he was not an investigating officer. He was not the. We sort of make turns on who's the next investigating officer, and this time the coin fell with Captain Sibola.
So he instructed by.
In my absence, Colonel Ludik was at that stage my second in command of the team. So he instructed Captain Sibola to be the investigating officer.
And do you know what time they had arrived?
I am not sure. It would probably be in their statement.
So, but certainly by the time you arrive at 1 o'clock, it's chaotic.
I can describe it.
To paragraph 7, to start reading.
We know Ms. Mashaba, I think, and then he's called demand elsewhere statement what someone says, SAP. How does it work, this DPCI find this traffic call?
Commissioner, as I indicated earlier, the issue is that when it comes to these size of drug consignments, it is clearly a transnational or even trans-international trafficking of illicit narcotics that's taking place. So that's why the DPCI would quickly take over such an investigation. Because we have and as I indicated earlier, our national coordinator also deals with law enforcement agencies outside of our borders. So that's why it would quickly be a DPCI matter.
And is that a common understanding?
Yes, Commissioner.
So if Mashaba, if he knows anything enforcement, he would have known.
In my opinion, he should have known as a senior.
DPCI.
Thank you, Colonel. Paragraph 7.
Paragraph 7. Captain Sibola indicated to me that he requested me to assist with the following issues. Point 1, He complained that there were too many people within the crime scene. I instructed some of my team members to cordon the immediate area around the vehicles involved, the truck with the container and the vehicles on which the exhibits was loaded onto. Non-essential personnel were moved outside the cordoned area.
Okay, so is this now where you established the outer?
The outer.
Why did it require you to arrive, Captain?
Captain Sebola, one must understand, as I mentioned, Commissioner, it was a chaotic scene, and I think he was more concerned with safeguarding the exhibits, as our protocols needs us to do. The exhibits and the suspects. He was concentrating on that, and that's why I think he initially left the outer cordon not to be done.
But you accept that the appropriate have done. There were many officers on.
Absolutely, it was. But at the end of the day, one should have been on the scene to realize how hectic it actually was. So to a large extent, I understand why he did what he did, because he was trying to. The scene was seriously compromised and seriously contaminated at that stage already by the number of people on the scene. So in trying to start dealing with that, I think he just, it was an elephant that he needed to attend to, so he started tending to it piece by piece and the like. And I think that's why the outer cordon at that stage was not a priority for him. That's just my opinion, based on previous experience with him on crime scene.
It was overwhelming.
It was one of the biggest scenes I've ever seen the Aswa.
And was General Kadwa still?
Yes, he was.
And what would have been his in a scene like this? Overwhelming? And I'm not judgment. And you have Kadwa. What would it?
Generally speaking, the General Kadwa would not have involved himself in ground operational issues. So he would have not instructed people to cordon and to do X, Y, and Z. Typically he would just be in the background and he would be briefed.
Okay, I'm going to come back to that, because I do find this thing, the extent to, there is a lack of. The first thing is you move in and you cordon off the outside.
Instruct people to cordon off, to do it outer.
All right, and then paragraph 2.
He requested members to assist in taking witness statements. I also tasked members to talk to Captain Sebola for him to indicate whose statements needs to be taken.
Okay, so you assisted task paragraph 3.
He indicated to me who the suspects were and requested members to deal with them. I tasked members accordingly.
Now, the suspect, what was, when you say you tasked them?
Start interviewing the suspects, start taking their warning statements to get a better gist of the crime scene and their role on the.
And that would have been, who were the?
Mr. Mashalba, Mr. Ndau, Pakula. I cannot now remember the fourth one, but there were four suspects.
That was Nku.
That would have been Mr. Nku.
I think when you said Ndau.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
Pakula, I just want to get a bit of clarity. And in order to do that, we need the first statement, this, not permission. And that's your statement 13one, which is CJC2. It's at page 1, the bundle. Colonel, you've been a doctor in.
My handwriting is a challenge. I've heard that so many times.
So we're going to need your help here. I did read it. And with some. So let's statement. What I would like you want, but my interest was paragraph 5. Could you read that into the record for the committee?
I ask, how do you know what's written in paragraph?
Yeah, Commissioner, sometimes it's even a challenge for myself, but I will read it to the best of my ability. I was assisting with the general working on the scene when I was introduced to Colonel Sipungu as being the commander of Warrant Officer Pakula, a member of the National Investigation Unit based in Pretoria. Warrant Officer Pakula was one of the persons placed under arrest. I then, in the presence of General Kadwa, I asked Colonel Sipungu if he was aware of the operation that his member was conducting. He indicated that he is actually on leave, but received a message from his member, Warrant Officer Pakula, at 0827 that he, Warrant Officer Pakula, was following up on drug-related information. He also offered to show me
the message.
To show us the message. I left the colonel and continued with my duties, and I recall that now I have a challenge.
Relayed
to Captain Sebola that we in due course should also obtain a statement from Colonel Sipungu, and also indicated to him that what the colonel said.
So when Officer Pakula, before Officer Pakula, what Pakula arrived?
That was indicated.
And he informed his commander, and as I understand it, if I'm wrong, the colonels did not object.
It didn't look like that. Colonel Sipungu, as I remember correctly and as I stated here, was on leave. So Pakula should have informed whoever was acting in his place, but that is just my view.
But even though he was on leave, he came to them.
That's correct.
Is that not?
No, that's not. If you're on leave, you're on leave. You're not supposed to involve yourself with the...
So you then inform Captain Sebola of the torch and
that is indeed correct.
Do you know whether that's
I think it was taken later, but I cannot...
Let's move to paragraph 7 of your statement.
He requested members to deal with the exhibits. I then and this I remember specifically because there was an issue later. I specifically tasked Captain Norkia and Warrant Officer Morris to deal with the issue of the exhibits, the safeguarding, counting, and general handling of the exhibits.
Okay, I want to deal with this exhibits and the counting a bit more detail. So I'm going to come back to first reading paragraph 5.
He asked me to contact FSL and LCRC to assist with the handling of the exhibits and the photographing thereof. I adhered to the request. Forensic Science Laboratory indicated that they were not able to assist as they were running on skeleton staff because of COVID and also had a problem with storage space. LCRC was busy at another scene, arriving a little bit later, and dealt with the photographing of the scene and the exhibits and the leftovers, in inverted commas, of the black carry bags, as well as that was handed to LCRC member for DNA and fingerprint analysis.
Okay, so just on this, we saw Port Chips a similar. It was a chaotic scene. There was it destroys the integrity. The second parallel is like in Port Chips, the lab desk storage to take the drugs. What is the why does the lab not?
There's just no space. Literally, there's no space.
Because of the number of
Exhibits that is being stored there, and it also reverts back to the prior thing that I said in terms of the legislation, where we currently have to keep exhibits for way too long, and one runs out of space.
There aren't that many labs in the area.
There's in Gauteng. There's one. Excuse me. There's one lab in Pretoria. That's the main forensic lab. And I know there's one in Cape Town. There used to be one in KZN as well, but the one in KZN got damaged. It had serious flood damage. So exhibits at that time were no longer going there.
Is that the one?
That's correct.
So there's just one lab, and that's Pretoria.
And then there's one in Cape Town.
In Gauteng.
In Gauteng, just the one in Pretoria.
Pretoria, in Silverton.
Yes, Silverton.
And so you say that they aren't to assist. So at the second you say, when you arrived, the LCRC was still and the officer, the member, LCRC member, know now, what time did she arrive?
Excuse me, Commissioners. I do not have the specific time that she arrived, but obviously when she arrived, she would have started to take photographs.
Let's have a look at the photograph that you provided.
Photographs that I provided
Yes.
with her taking photographs.
Correct.
Yes.
Let's go to, let's start at page. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to come back to this for now. This is a photograph that would have taken, this is not the photograph taken by the Wood, but she would have taken
Similar photograph.
And page 10.
That would be correct.
And page 11.
Page 11,
Can you tell us who are the...
I'm trying to, I cannot recall who's the person with the orange jacket. Next to him would be my good self. I also do not know who's the person here with the back to us. And the person, last person there looks like, or the second last person, that looks like Warrant Officer Woods. And the next photo will show us better. And
But
then,
before we move up to the next one, this looks like night.
indeed correct. One should just bear in mind that around 5:30 in winter, it becomes dark.
It's already getting dark.
Indeed.
What are the bags that are being handled?
These are the bags that the remainders of the black bags that we saw in the earlier photograph. The remainder of the black bags was put in these evidence bags, and she was busy photographing the remainders of the black bags. As I indicated, it was given to her on the scene, but she would photograph it before she leaves with it to go and check for DNA in and outside these bags.
Okay, so if we look at 12,
That would be Officer Woods taking the photographs of these bags I have a picture as it lies in front of me, to the far right. And I see now the person there to the far left, that looks like Captain Norkia.
the far left, the
With
orange,
his back towards the photographer, right next to the bags on the left-hand side, right opposite Officer Woods.
sure, I thought exactly. There's a person with a long,
The person with the long coat looks like Brigadier Sekobela, my direct commander, and then just in front of, to her left-hand side, that would have been Captain Norkia.
and finally 30, who are
Officer Woods still taking photographs. That looks like these would have been two members from my team. They're definitely busy with completing registers there for the official jotting down of the issues of the details of these evidence bags. Maybe assisting Morris and
all right. So and now this is
now seriously off.
take a step and now you said that you had assisted by instructor
Norkia and Morris.
here in Warrant.
That's correct.
Now to do what? To count? To do what? All the bags, these drugs, are they still in the black?
They're still in the black wrappings. Yes. If I can take you back, photographs that is had. If you go back to photograph 4, when these bags were still on the back of the black bakkie, they were still on the back of the black bakkie. I instructed those two to start unpacking this black bakkie, and this is where they started. In other words, they were busy unpacking these bags, and as the bags were put there, these photographs.
So these were now the photographs of the bags, and then
The next step would be to open these bags and inspect the content of
to
it.
count.
Well, first see what is inside the bags. Remember, we did not know what was inside these bags. When they opened the first bag and they saw the bricks, they called me over to say, Colonel, come and look what we have here. And then we immediately realized what we have. Well, as I said earlier, although it's confirmed by analysis by forensic, we knew that we had a very, very large indication that we're dealing with cocaine bricks. So they showed it to me. I said, unpack everything and count it and put it into evidence.
And was this done in the suspect?
I'm not sure where the suspects was at that stage, but the suspects were being dealt with by Sebola and the people I instructed to assist him with the suspect.
It be required that's done in.
The evidence bag sealed in front of the suspects, yes.
But you're saying you don't know whether it was done or it was not?
I'm not sure if it's...
Now, by the time you instruct them, by that time today, record by Shaba or any member reflect so many.
Commissioner, I'm not aware of any such record. I'm not aware of any such record. To the best of my recollection, such a record does not exist. No, Commissioner.
So, Colonel, we're going to go slowly through here and found, but I don't want. So, can you just read in paragraph 9 for us?
I generally assisted and supported Captain Sebola and other team members with their duties on the crimes. I was happy with the way in which Captain Sebola dealt with the issue of the crime scene management. Although the scene was already seriously compromised, we dealt with it to the best of our ability. I also tended to all immediate reports that needed to be submitted. In specific relation to handling the exhibits, I'd like to state the following. The exhibits was packed in black bags with handles. The two members who I assigned to deal with the exhibits, as mentioned supra, opened these bags and showed me that it contained bricks. These bricks was wrapped in black and transparent wrap. Out of experience, the team believed this bricks to contain cocaine. In brackets, this, however, would only be confirmed by forensic science laboratories analysis and weighed plus minus 1 kilogram per brick. These bricks also had markings on it, and the two I can remember was a bull red in color and a seagull in black color with a white background. These bricks was packed out, counted and photographed. The count came to 715 in total. The bricks was then sealed in official exhibit bags and recorded in number of the bricks per bag and bag numbers. These exhibit bags have specific and unique serial numbers as well. I assisted Captain Sebola to make arrangements for the exhibits to be transported to Boyson's SAPS as the crime scene was in their area. The exhibits was transported to Boyson's SAPS in an official police vehicle under armed guard, in brackets SAPS members. The two members who I appointed as the members responsible for the exhibits also accompanied the exhibits to hand it into the SAP 30.
Let's go to that. We'll find CJC 11, specific page.
I have, sorry.
So, am I right?
This is definitely SAP 13.
Hand.
Yes, ma'am.
Then the crime.
Correct.
The third starts at
3.1 describes 1 in brackets 1 times sealed bag with serial number PAB 000297151 containing 18 times 1 kilogram bricks. With that word, said cocaine. Possible.
That's the each ink down that it goes to 9 all the way down. Now, counted fact, it amounts to 684. I don't know.
I haven't.
It amounts to 684 bricks in total. But I think the reason is at 12, page 4.
Yeah, they didn't write in the...
And cross-check that exact bag number, you'll see. So, in fact, amount you added. But 700 is a statement. You said there were 700. Explain that.
I cannot, because I was not present when this was handed in. I don't know if they omitted by counting some other bricks by the just handing in the bag itself. But on scene, reported 700. And
Life, I would expect that 3.12.
I will agree with you, Commissioner. That would have been much easier. But again, remember, I was not there when they wrote in when this exhibits were booked into the SAP.
If you have this here, surely it helped.
I will agree with you, Commissioner. I think if we have a look at Morris and Norke's statement, they kept record of this, so they must have been, I don't know if one was just missed or something. But I totally agree with you, Commissioner. That would indeed make a lot of sense.
So, the question from Commissioner Kamalo is important because it is about maintaining the chain of custody, evidence, integrity of the evidence, which will help to secure a successful prosecution down the line. Each step along the way here is hugely, it might seem very small, but it's not. So the error in the SAP 13 register at 312 looks like it was just an error if one does a cross-check, but it could become significant, and it's correct. I think that's why this question is quite important. So what we have is the SAP 13 register, which amounts to 684, but let's say, well, we've seen 3.12, it was just an omission of 16, so it's 3 total, 7. But you say it should actually be 715. If we go to Warrant Officer Morris's statement, it is a warrant officer.
Morris was a warrant.
So that would be CJC 206. and it starts at page 16. And the relevant part for us, although you're welcome to anywhere else in the statement if you wish, if I could ask you to have a look at paragraph 9. In fact, the first thing would probably explain my own. So the SAP 13 register, I don't you go back there, it's a lot of, but 3.12, the exhibit number was 296842, 296842. And if you look at paragraph 9 of Morris's statement, under from the sixth sports bag, the second you'll see 2968
Yes.
exhibit number, and it says 16 packages.
16 packages.
Yeah. So I'm just explaining to you where I got the number, because that's the same, and that's the sticker that had been. Okay. So here in paragraph 9, what is Officer Morris describing?
Officer Morris is describing how many of those blocks were packed into a specific unique forensic bag with a specific unique serial number. And then later, towards no, sorry, that was 14. Yeah, that was what he describes in paragraph 9.
Right. Now, on my count, that adds up to 700, not 700. So it tallies with the SAP 13 register at 700. But then where does 715 come from? I still don't then have an answer to the discrepancy.
I think, Commissioners, I think it will just be good and well for Warrant Officer Morris and Norkia to explain that discrepancy. Because on scene, they reported to me 715 blocks. And if you go further and you look at my statement, these blocks, out of experience, usually weighed around weighs around a kilogram each. And when it was handed into forensics, and I think we'll probably come to that, sorry for jumping the gun now, getting ahead of myself.
I am also looking at paragraph 11 of your top of page 4, and you are dealing with, I think, the handing over to FSL.
That's correct.
And you say the drugs, upon being handed in, weighed 750.
Exactly right.
Yeah, and I'm not sure to what extent, if at all, that tallies with the 700.
715 was handed in, and it weighed 715.88 kilograms.
But what I'm saying is, Hasim has taken us to 2 places.
That
And
indicates
the calculation place is 7. So what I'm saying is, I don't know how one is able to relate those 2 7 count to a 7 paragraph.
I totally concur. Well, I see what you're saying, Commissioner. And as I indicated, it was reported to me, I didn't count the bricks. It was reported to me that there were 715 bricks counted on scene.
Maybe
I can only testify to what I've got knowledge on.
If I can complicate things further, if we go to CJC 210, it's the statement of Captain Modise, the 212 statement, and it starts at page 36. So just to begin with, Captain Modise is forensic analyst in the lab, correct? And she provides a statement to record that she received the evidence bags, right?
That's correct.
And if we look at paragraph 3 of her statement, she says, during the execution of my official duties on 21 July 21, I received 9 bags with numbers, and then she lists all of them. And we know there were 49 bags. But the last sentence, that paragraph, says the total number of solid substance blocks was 715. And I find that peculiar because we know that there were 700. Morris said so, and register says so, and count them up. How is it that Modise then comes to 700? How do we understand? What are we
Again, Commissioners, I would submit that Warrant Officer Morris and Captain Orkia should answer on that, because it's also clear here that for her to say this is the number of blocks, and for her to be able to do this analysis, she would have opened these evidence bags and literally count the blocks. That's how she also came to 750. So Captain Norkia and Warrant Officer Morris should explain why this discrepancy of 15 blocks.
Because when they're handed into the SAP 13 clerk, the clerk is also doing it, right?
Yeah.
And at paragraph 6 of Captain Modise's statement, if we look at that, the last sentence, you could just read the last sentence.
An average mass of one solid substance block was 1,001.20 grams. Thereafter, the total estimated mass of the exhibit's material was 715.86 kilograms.
They have underlined estimated because I think they are dealing with the actual substance. I think they're doing the weighing. So the estimated surprised me. I'm just making a note. Please continue.
Chair, it's also peculiar that it's an estimate because it's 715.86, which is not an estimate. But what we have, the point of this being a discrepancy in the exhibits, the number of bricks and the weight of the bricks, and how the count at Boyce to the lab.
I can see that.
Okay, so I need to then take you back. So what we know is that the bags were counted, sealed, taken to Boyson's, checked register. All of that totally in accordance with protocols.
Absolutely, yes.
But then, can you read paragraph 10?
Paragraph?
10.
Of my statement.
Of your statement, yes. So it was a Friday, as I understand it.
Yeah, the 9th was a Friday, indeed. Right. That's correct, Commissioner. Throughout the weekend following the operation, I was contacted by the station commander of Boysons, Brigadier Jones. He raised concerns of safety for the exhibits and requested me to have it removed as soon as possible. On Monday, 2021, 07/12, I phoned FSL again and requested if they could take in the exhibits. They still were not able to assist with the storage of the exhibits. As Captain Sibola was busy with the case docket at court, I continued to assist with the matter concerning the exhibits. I phoned Brigadier Naika, the National Coordinator for SANET, for assistance. He indicated to me that he's got access to safe storage at a base at the the SAPS College in Pretoria. I arranged members of my team, including the two that were dealing with the exhibits from the outset, to meet me at Boyson's SAPS. I also arranged a number of SAPS Highway Patrol members to assist with the transport and safeguarding of the exhibits to the mentioned safe storage. The exhibits were booked out by Captain Norkia, loaded into the Highway Patrol vehicles and transported to the mentioned safe... Sorry, I just heard a noise. My apologies. The exhibits were booked out by Captain Norkia, loaded into Highway Patrol vehicles and transported to the mentioned safe storage in Pretoria. On our arrival, I was shown the storage and inspected it. I was satisfied that this was a very safe place, with access control at the gate to the facility inside the SAPS College, and it was a strong room inside a building with a steel door and a steel gate. The room was empty and the key was handed to me. We unloaded the exhibits into the strong room, locked the gate and the door, and I handed the keys to Captain Norkia with the instruction to see to it that the exhibits be moved to FSL as soon as they were ready to receive it. When we offloaded the exhibits, bags, the bricks were still in the form that it was at the time of the seizure.
Okay. So what was the concern? I mean, again, given what we know about the importance of safeguarding these exhibits and following proper protocol, the SAP-13 generally, as I understand it, being itself like a vault, right? It's a very secure place. It's attended by someone at a time. Nothing can go in and out without being recorded. What was the concern here? Keeping it at the Boyson's SAP vault?
Commissioners, there were mainly two issues raised by Brigadier Jones. He firstly indicated to me that this arrest of these 4 people drew a lot of attention, and there was more than usual, actually he called it a large number of visitors there throughout the weekend, and he said that there was even demonstrations outside the police station. He further indicated to me that he believes that his SAP-13 storage facility is not safe enough because he doesn't have a 24/7 guard or video cameras or anything like that. So he was concerned for the safety of this exhibit. And, you know, at that stage I had to try and mitigate the safety of these exhibits, because if something would have happened to this exhibit, he would have turned around and said, I told Steyn to make a plan, and now he's not making a plan, and now there's a trouble. So that's when I stepped in and made alternative arrangements in an effort, as I indicated, to try and mitigate the safety of these exhibits.
And was his concern that protesters might try to, was it his concern that the suspects might have a hand in the disappearance banks?
His approach was that there were a lot of extra movement because of this case around his police station, and he raised that as a general concern. I cannot comment on his train of thought per se during his telephone calls to me, but according to him, he had serious concerns about the safety of these exhibits.
He mentioned the size of it. I recall you earlier saying it was.
Commissioner, he raised the issue of the value of this exhibit during some of our conversations. Indeed, he did so.
And he called you more than once?
Oh, go ahead.
He called you more than once on that
He
weekend.
actually called me, for lack of a better word, and I do apologize. It was starting to get irritating, the number of calls he actually made to me. But I also, in hindsight, I understand why he made those many phone calls, because he wanted to also see to the safety of this exhibit. And in essence, although the exhibit was into his SAP-13 to a very large extent, the safeguarding of the exhibits or the whole risk in terms of the exhibits would also form part of our responsibility to an extent. Yes, Commissioner.
Let's adjourn and resume at 2 p.m.
Thank you, Chair. Report, the statement itself at page 39. And if we look specifically at paragraph 3, she says, during the execution of my official duty, 10 August 21, I received one sealed bag, number, and she says it contained an amount of solid substance wrapped in. And then at paragraph 6, we determined that it is cocaine and that it weighs 1 kg. Can you explain how this one extra bit of cocaine arrived at the lab?
Commissioners, yes. Initially, I was not aware of this brick, but it was reported to me by Captain Norkia that if we recall the photographs that was taken, the wrappings of the sports bags was handed to Warrant Officer Woods from LCRC to check up on possible fingerprints or DNA inside these wrappings. Seemingly, according to Captain Norkia, what has happened, one of these bricks got stuck inside this adhesive wrapping that was around these bags, and that block was missed, probably because it was getting dark and the lighting wasn't that well. One of those blocks got missed, and it was then retrieved by Warrant Officer Wood, who then gave it to Captain Norkia, and he handed it in again.
So this was it was trapped in the canvas bag or in that plastic wrapping.
Commissioners, if you recall that, as I indicated in that photographs, the wrapping was, it had a strong adhesive on the inside. The wrapping where the canvas bags was wrapped into. And it must have gotten stuck in one of those, because the 23 bags that was unwrapped, as you could see in one of the photographs, Warrant Officer Wood is busy taking photographs of these bags in sealed evidence bags, and it was heaps of them. So I think it just got stuck in the inside of that adhesive wrapping of the canvas bags. That's the only explanation I got from Captain Norkia.
We don't know whether there were any other bricks.
It was only the one that was reported.
So let's return then to your statement. It's paragraph 12.
Captain Norkia, on the 19th, reported to me, sorry, just paragraph 11, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Commissioners. While I was off sick with COVID, Captain Norkia reported to me telephonically that on the 19th of July, 2021, that forensics indicated that they were ready to receive on that day, and that he handed in the exhibits, him and Warrant Officer Morris handed in the exhibits on that day. And I asked him if everything was in order, and he indicated to me it's still in order, all is still there, all is still accounted.
So sorry, that was at this point in time, and thank you for going back to paragraph. At this point in time, this was where the drugs were now transported from the SAPS college to FSL.
From the safe premises to FSL, yes.
So just again on that timeline, the 9th was the drug bust.
Correct.
That was the day it was booked into the SAP.
On the 9th, correct.
On the 9th.
Correct.
Calls to you, multiple calls over the weekend. 12th, the Monday, it was then taken to the SAPS training college.
Correct.
And locked into a storeroom.
A safe storeroom.
And just remind us then who had control over the exhibits at that point in time.
I would refer you back to paragraph 10, where the last paragraph under paragraph 10, we unloaded the exhibits into the strong room, locked the gate and the door, and I handed the keys to Captain Norkia with the instruction to see to it that the exhibits be moved to Forensic Science Laboratory as soon as they are ready to receive it. So it would have been Captain Norkia that was in total control of the exhibits henceforth.
So I understand the reason for moving it because of concerns that were raised at Boyce. This was the place that was identified as being very safe. But it is a breach of protocol, is it not, to take it to the edge?
I would concede to that, yes. But,
and even if the motive is for the purpose protecting.
I had to take a decision in an effort to try and mitigate further risks to the exhibits, and hence my decision to take that move out of protocol.
And I suppose for me the question is, it's so important, the protocols, right? Because when there's a breach, it sort of allows for problems to, and it's not ideal that the drugs had to be moved out of an SA13 register. What is the solution to this?
Enhance the storage capability at forensics.
Is that forensics? Is that's really because it has to go into an SAP13 first?
Absolutely,
right?
yes.
But the problem is that you don't want to keep it in SAP13 longer than is absolutely necessary.
I think protocol allows us 7 days, and within the period of 7 days, we need to move it to forensics from a SAP13 arrestation.
So if there had been space at the forensic lab, then it would have just gone from Boyson's on the Monday straight to lab.
Absolutely, yes.
There wouldn't have been this divert.
Yes, Commissioners, it would have been like that.
Why can't you hand over the custody FSL and you let them decide? Because then you would have complied with this. Their response.
I totally get what you're saying, Commissioner. At the end of the day, one is to a large extent also in their hands. If they say, I cannot receive, I have to make alternative arrangements.
And you say you are obliged to, within 7 days, if you don't have storage, to now to make an arrangement. But these things are now in your, they can be in the radio station, HAWKS, or wherever the people are who are right.
I was at that stage of the belief that I cannot tell them what to do, although they're also aware of the protocols, Commissioner. And I just, as I've indicated previously, I just had to make an arrangement for, in lack of a better explanation, for the better of the exhibits, for the safeguarding to the best of my ability for the exhibits, until such time that they were able to accept it, Commissioner.
Thank you. So the drugs then are transported from the training college to, so there's a 9th, the 12th it goes into the storeroom at SAP College, and then on the 19th it's taken to the forensic service lab. Is that correct?
Correct, Commissioner.
Okay. And then at that point, when it's logged in with the forensic service lab, is there a clerk who then receives it, and so there's a counter signature of what's received? Is that right?
That is indeed correct, Commissioner.
And as I understand it, at that point in time when the exhibits are now being handed over at FSL, it was discovered that there were some bags with small tears Do you want to just explain that?
When Captain Norkia phoned me on the 19th to indicate to me that the bags were handed in, and I questioned him on the status of the exhibits. Like I said, he indicated to me that it was still in the brick form, it was still in the same evidence bags, but probably because it was moved a number of times from the crime scene to Boysens, from Boysens to the safe storage in the college, from the college then to forensics. Because these evidence bags, although it's quite thick plastic, I think because of the transportation and the movement of these bags, there was small tears in the exhibit bags. But according to Captain Norkia, the tears was so small that the bricks would not fit through a tear like that. But what happens at forensics when you get there and there's the evidence or the exhibits bags are compromised even in the smallest way or fashion, not properly sealed because it's got a self-sealing, you remove a strip and then it's self-sealing. Even if there's a small little problem with that, they refuse to accept it. So Captain Norkia explained to me that they, at reception in forensics, they actually resealed these into other bags that didn't have any damage to them. And it was then accepted as such at forensics.
So they would be resealed into new bags with new exhibit numbers, new sealed numbers on the bags. And I think there were about 8 such bags.
I'm not sure of the count. I cannot recall that he gave me a specific count. He just said there were some of the bags. I asked him, did you get it sorted? He said, yes, we resealed it and we handed it in. They accepted it as so.
Okay, maybe just for the sake of completeness, I'll just, if you look at Officer Morris's statement, again, CJC 206, starts at page 16. If you look at page 90, at paragraph 13, he says they transported, him and Captain Norkia transported the bags on 19th July to SL. And then he says that they were damaged from the handling of the drug exhibits. And then in paragraph 4, he lists the bags that were affected.
Yes, Commissioner.
And they were placed into new bags.
Yes.
And there are 8 bags that are listed. That's just to close that off.
Thank you.
All right. And then I think we're then at paragraph 12.
Would you like me to read it in?
Yes.
On my return from isolation, I further assisted Captain Sebola by inspecting the docket in terms of the investigation done and issued written instructions on the outstanding investigations. I also assisted with obtaining some of the outstanding statements.
Okay. So you continued to assist even after, this would now be with the investigation into the source of the drugs, potential destination of the drugs.
Correct, Commissioner.
Right. Please, can you read the first paragraph of paragraph 30?
During the course of 2024, after an IPAD investigation into the matter, I was informed that the IPAD case was dismissed by the DPP in terms of charges against members, including myself. But the IPAD requested a departmental investigation to be conducted against DPCI members who were involved in the Boysens case. Major General Gerber was appointed as the investigating officer into the departmental investigation. After his investigations, the national head of the DPCI also decided that the members acted correctly and that no departmental steps will be taken. During this investigation, I was instructed to confirm the status of the exhibits of this case.
Pause there. Let's just, before we move on, just on the investigation. So this investigation by Major General Gerber into the members of the HAWKS was really followed from the IPAD investigation and the IPAD recommendation.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Can we just look at the IPAD report? You'll see that at CJC 215, and it starts at page 76. This is the report that made the recommendations, right?
I think so.
You'll see at paragraph 2.1 of that report, the IPAD says the recommendation is to initiate disciplinary proceedings as the SAPS members involved are, and then it lists 5 members of SAPS and HAWKS.
Yes, Commissioner.
And those are Major General Khan, Major General Kadwa, Brigadier Sekgobela, Colonel Steyn, that's you, and Lieutenant Colonel Sebola.
Correct.
And this was based on an investigation at 2.3. The IPAD investigator lists all of the statements and evidence relied on. You see that?
I see that, Commissioner.
So there's a list of about 42 statements, including some warning statements, and then other evidence, a radio control transcript that we were looking at, the SAP-13, forensic report, etc. So based on all of these interviews with these people, what the IPAD report investigator determines is, if you look at page 79, the first paragraph, it says, evidence in our disposal revealed that indeed the complainant and 3 others were arrested on 9 July 2021 and were charged with drugs. As per the Boysens case, that's the case number. The police arrested their colleagues who made a huge drug bust. 2 generals, namely Major General Khan and Kadwa, attended the crime scene. However, they are unable to explain as to their role at the crime scene. General Kadwa indicated that he did not do anything at the crime scene, as he alleged that he remained in his car, and later he got a report that officers were arrested. And then it goes on and says the drugs with the lab, the canine unit issue, and then the recommendations. This then is what led to Major Gerber's delegation, right?
Correct, Commissioner.
Now, I accept that you can't really comment on the IPID investigation.
No, I can't.
But can you tell me whether General Kadwa did exercise any control over the scene when he was there, or whether he did just remain in his car? Is that a correct statement?
What I personally saw, that would be not in his car, he was standing next to his car when I arrived there.
And he, while the entire time that you were present, he didn't issue any instructions or exercise any oversight?
The only thing he asked me is, I must just remember to tender the initial report to him, the preliminary report to him as soon as possible. That's the only thing he told me to do while I was on the scene.
Okay, then what happens is that the recommendation is made, and who is Major General Gerber, who is tasked with?
Major General Gerber, I'm not sure where he is currently, but at that stage he was or still is the provincial head of the DPCI in Mpumalanga.
Okay, and did he interview you for the purposes of the investigation?
He did telephonically, and I tendered the statement.
I'm going to return to his conclusions. I mean, as we know, ultimately he exonerated the four that investigators.
Yes,
all right. I'll return to that because...
You say the four, I think there was five, no?
No, General Khan doesn't fall under the HAWKS.
Who was the complainant in this IPD investigation?
I am not sure, Commissioner.
It says the complainant in bracket, paragraph 3 on page 75. 79.
Yeah, that is indeed correct. Commissioner, I haven't seen this report before until the bundle was given to me over the weekend.
It seems to me that the complainants are the three persons who were arrested.
Yes, the traffic officer, the two police officers, and then the private individual. I think you're 100% correct, Commissioner.
To your knowledge, you say, it says, I think you say in a statement that the DPP dismissed the case that was supposed to be put against you. Do you know what was the charge against you in particular, that DP?
If my memory serves me well, it was corruption and defeating the ends of justice. If my memory serves me well, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. As I said, I might return to the Gerber report just for some of his conclusions about concerns that he did have, despite the fact that there was sufficient basis to pursue any disciplinary charges against any of the four. He did raise some concerns about the investigation, some of which we covered today.
Yes.
I would like to return to that, but before we get there, you were paragraph 13, and you had read the first paragraph of your paragraph 13, and you said that at the time of the investigation you were asked to confirm the status of the exhibits.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Can you take it from there, please?
If one looks at my additional statement, the first meeting we had with the people at Forensics in an effort to try and address this tasking that I received, myself, Lieutenant Colonel Jacobs, Captain Norkia, and Warrant Officer Morris went to Forensics on the 3rd of December. When we requested I explained to them the reason for our visit, and we requested them to physically see these exhibits. They went and looked for it, but they couldn't find the whole consignment. And they returned to us and they said to us, well, there's no problem. I said to them, that's not acceptable. And I then phoned, as I indicated in my original statement, I then contacted Brigadier Allen, who is their commanding officer. And I requested her to assist with this tasking and to actually intervene because I didn't get joy from her personnel.
And when did you contact her? You say it in the statement, if you can just say it for the record.
I contacted her, I cannot recall exactly when it was just after our meeting, our original meeting in December.
So in paragraph 13 in your main statement, original statement, you say in the beginning of February 5.
Brigadier Allen contacted me.
Oh, I see. So let's just step back. So it was December when you first made the request.
Yes.
They indicated there's a problem.
Yes.
But they couldn't answer your questions to your satisfaction.
So we literally called it a day and we left. So I phoned her and I asked her to intervene and assist us so that I can adhere to this tasking that I received.
And then we can continue from there. So she then contacted you in February.
In the beginning of February, she contacted me and informed me that they found the exhibits in the storeroom, but that the exhibits were no longer in the brick form, but in forensic plastic transparent bags with no markings on it, but the bags had tags on them descripting the lab number as well as the case number. She further indicated that the consignment now only weighed 479.4 kilograms. And that
579.
579.40 kilograms, and hence that 136.46 kilograms was unaccounted for. On Wednesday, the 22nd of February of 2025, I attended a meeting with General Kadwa, Lieutenant Colonel Jacobs, and I think that Norkia and Morris was there, I'm not sure, with Brigadier Allen and some of her personnel. they could still not explain the 136.46 kilograms that was unaccounted for. And it was then that General Kadwa decided to phone the DPCI national head of anti-corruption, of the anti-corruption section, and requested an investigation into the matter. I'm not aware of the current status of this investigation.
Let's just unpack that a little bit. So 136.4 kgs went missing.
Based on the original weight of 715.86 kilograms, it only weighed in now at 579.4 kilograms, so 136.46 kilograms was missing.
And she said they were no longer in brick form.
We actually viewed it. It was now just a powder in large see-through bags with tags on.
So again, when it's sealed in the evidence bags, it's got that shrink wrapped, it's tightly wrapped in the plastic.
Correct.
Now that had been, so is the evidence of Brigadier Allen that it was now, that had been removed?
She informed us, if my memory serves me well, that wrapping, are we talking about the wrapping with the
logos.
markings on it, the
Yes.
logos on it? She indicated that started to deteriorate. And obviously because of the fact that they had to remove some of this powder to actually analyze it, that wrapping then deteriorated further because they literally, if I understand it correctly, they tested every brick. So because they opened those bricks, it started to deteriorate and they decided to remove the wrappings and just put it in other bags that they used then to put the evidence in after they've analyzed it.
Do they test all of it? Do they test the 700?
Commissioner, they cannot test, if they test all 700 of it, there's nothing left. So it would be small samples out of each brick, in my understanding that they do test, Commissioner.
And here's my follow-up question. Is it not possible then that the sample that was,
Not 136 kilograms, Commissioner. That's not possible.
so they cannot use?
No, Commissioner, definitely not. So it's literally grams or milligrams that they use to test.
So it's now in powder form, and 136 kgs are not accounted for. That's quite a lot to carry out of the storage room.
Indeed, it was quite upsetting to us at the time, yeah.
So you say that you attended the meeting. They couldn't explain anything further, right? But was this meeting at the FSL?
Correct.
And then did you go to inspect the exhibits and the storage space?
We indeed were allowed to accompany them, and they showed us the storage facility where the exhibits were kept in.
And what did you see there?
Lack of a better explanation, chaos. But I don't think any, in my humble opinion, like the lawyers say in court, my humble opinion is that at the end of the day, one should go and look for yourselves. My explanation of that, or photographs of that, will not suffice to explain what's going on in those storerooms. It was kilograms and kilograms of exhibits lying on top of one another, and roof height.
So how would they be sorted? I mean, so it's all in one room, first.
All in one room. Different bags with the tags on them, as I can explain. I don't know how they would know to go to the back of this facility to retrieve certain items. It's like a puzzle. I don't know how they do it.
So you would walk in, and is it on shelves, or is it?
Shelves are fully packed. It's now laying on the ground, and they literally walking on top of the bags to get to the bags at the backside of this facility.
And is it a secure room?
Yeah. There's serious strong room doors in front, and you have to sign as soon as you step if you put your foot into that place, you sign a register to say that you were in there.
Are there cameras outside the door?
I saw cameras. If they're working, I cannot answer.
So that would have presumably been part of the investigation by the anti-corruption section.
I think so, yes. Ought to be.
And have you ever been able to do any follow-up on that investigation by the anti-corruption office? So is this an office within DPCI, by the way, the anti-corruption?
That is correct. Anti-corruption, serious anti-corruption is one of the legs, if I can explain it like that the DPCI is built on.
The call that was made, you say, to the DPCI head office, anti-corruption, was that made in February 2025?
That's correct,
To
yes.
investigate?
I actually overheard, in the meeting we had at Forensics, I overheard the call that General Kadwa made to, I understand he's no longer in the police, it was General John Matroos, who was heading up that section within the DPCI, and I know that the call was made to General John Matroos.
So it's now well over a year later. What update have you had on that investigation and the status of the case?
I do not have the full status of the investigation, but I'm aware that in last week they took a statement from Warrant Officer Morris, excuse me, and I was approached on past Friday, to tender a statement from my side on, actually one of the questions that they asked is why was the recount done from our side? But it's explained in my statement. So I said to them that I will deal with it in this week only after I finalize my testimony at this commission.
Did we establish what the street?
It would
Times 100,000. I don't want to take out my phone, Commissioner, and My mathematical
roughly
skills are good, but not that good.
55 million.
Around.
Yeah, around there, Commissioner.
Commissioner Van Rooyen laughed at us, so we don't want to attend.
And if this had now entered the market, was now on the streets, these drugs, would you have been able to pick it up in any way?
I don't think so. Reason being, I do not know if it was removed in those blocks where we found it in, because that would be the only way to identify it. But I believe that after the analysis, it was no longer in that block form that we seized it in. So cocaine is a white powder. The end product is a white powder. So it will be very difficult to identify that on the street per se.
So there's another incident that happens in February 2025 at around this time that these drugs go missing. There's a media publication. And if I could just ask you to have a look at that exhibit bundle. It's at CJC 217, page 109 of the bundle. And it's dated 22 February 2025. And the title of this media report is Crime Intelligence Battle, Key Witnesses in Feroz Khan Disciplined to Face Drug Charges, right? The report discusses what happened at the Eritton scene, 4 suspects that were arrested, and it, in quite a lot of detail, including photographs from the scene, including the similar photographs to the ones you've showed to the Commission. But it says more, and if you look at page 115 of that report, okay? Now, if you look at, for example, from the second paragraph of this media article, it says the report reveals Nku and Mashaba were in direct communication with an East Rand businessman who appears to have been the middleman between a drug operation in Brazil and local operations. It then goes on to talk about chats from encrypted messaging services that revealed that Nku was talking about certain employees at the Durban port that were, inverted commas, our guys. It refers to the businessmen who went by a particular alias. And you'll see also, as you scroll down, that this media article has the actual messages that were shared, that were obtained by internal HAWKS investigators. It has evidence from the cell phone analyst, and it concludes, it opines that the emergence of this evidence is likely to prove crucial to Khan's survival in the disciplinary round. It continues to talk about Khan's troubles. And it's actually a very pro-Khan article. It's a very favorable article. And all of this evidence, leaks essentially, comes from an internal report that I think you're familiar with. Can you confirm whether you know about these WhatsApp messages and the evidence regarding Nku, the Durban businessman?
Not this specific, I cannot recall the specific WhatsApp messages that's published here. And I do not know where would they have gotten this. I know there was analysis done by our PCMC, the Provincial Crime Management Centre, which also forms part of the DPCI. But to where this comes from, and I haven't seen this prior to today.
Have you not seen a presentation that provides an analysis of the evidence
Not of this specific, but I've seen part of a presentation by the PCMC.
Is it similar
Yes.
evidence to what is reported?
Yes, similar, yes.
So how would information, I mean, I would think that that's quite sensitive, confidential information.
Absolutely.
How would that be leaked to the media?
I do not have an answer. I would not know. It's actually sad to see something.
What is the risk of it, this kind of to an investigation?
The risk of it is plain and simple to the fact that at the end of the day, if these type of things are published, it makes it easier for the criminals to see what we're looking at and how we do our investigations. And that would have further and future investigations into this type of syndicate.
Thank you, Colonel. And then I said I would come back to the Harbour report.
Sorry,
you were going to continue. Please go ahead.
Sorry, if you would allow me, just to take you to page 109 of that same, the first page of that article. You will see that photograph of the black bakkie with the black bags on top of. Also in front of it, that is not captured in Warrant Officer Wood's sketch of the scene. You would see a marked police vehicle parked right in front of it. To the left of the police vehicle is that red Kia. That is in her statement, in her drawing. But the police vehicle by then has been removed. So I just wanted to highlight that I just saw now.
Yes, thank you for bringing this to our attention, because Wood's sketch was only done at a particular point in the day, and was much later in the day.
Yeah, here the sun is still shining.
Here the sun is still shining, exactly.
Indeed, correct.
This open bakkie. Is this the black bakkie that is?
That would be correct, Commissioner.
So Mashaba and them would have transported the drugs open in this if they had had their way
That looks like that, Commissioner. Yes, ma'am.
and without protection.
I cannot answer to that, ma'am. I do not know what their plans were at that stage.
Just remind us, police van is the one that prevented black warehouse.
This is what I found when I came on the scene and I asked what's going on here, and it was explained to me that that black bakkie apparently wanted to leave, so it was blocked in by a Boyson's police van. Yes, Commissioner.
Going back to the FSL, the drugs that are now, that cannot be accounted, the one is 136.
Yes,
that cannot be. Do you know if FSL has conducted its own investigation? This was in their custody.
I'm not sure. I think Brigadier Allen can attest to that, Commissioner. I will not be able to comment on.
And you haven't seen any FSL records that account for who handled different stages till of 7. You haven't seen any records.
The only records I could see was the 212 statements by the analyst of people handling the drugs, Commissioner. Apart from the 212 statements where the people's names appear that did the analysis, I'm not able to give any other names.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Colonel, Major General Kalber's report, right at towards the end, where he makes some findings. You can just turn to page 106.
CJ?
CJC 216. CJC 216, and specifically page 106.
I'm there, Commissioner.
Thank you. So, he says he doesn't find evidence against 4, but then he says the following. He says, and it's like the second paragraph just before the bullet points, there were fundamental administrative errors made by the investigators assigned to the team, and I highlight these, although they have no bearing on the IP recommendations. And then he lists them, as follows. Errors in relation to serial numbers on evidence bag, statement of Captain Norkia and Warrant Officer Morris, who performed the seizure together, differs. That was rectified and found to be administrative error. The number of evidence collected, statements indicate 700, whereas FSL received 715. Several witness statements also confirmed 7. The 1 brick of cocaine recovered by LCRC and handed over to CI, indicating members did not fully explore and receive all exhibits. A human error given the circumstances. Next, premature arrest of police officials, albeit justified based on circumstances at the crime scene. If allowed time to investigate, an outcome may have been achieved. Lack of follow-up on alibis, thus allowing the defense to obtain statements and providing such in their representations to DP. Statements from commanders, but initially indicated telephonically they were not aware of what their members were doing, but later changed their version, should have been obtained immediately. And this is, at least for me, the most important thing about all of that, is the next sentence. It says, the above will have serious implications on any future representations made by the DPCI to have the Boyson's case placed back on the roll. So the effect of it is no successful prosecution will come this.
Yes.
Can you comment on that and shortcomings that Major General Kalber identified?
I'm not sure when he refers to errors relating to serial numbers on evidence bags. I'm not sure what he actually means by that. Statement from Norkia and Morris, that error or the differences between their statements must have been rectified in my time of absence. The 700 and the difference between the 700 and 715, if you have a look at my original statement, my handwritten statement, I did not mention any specific count of the blocks there. I only mentioned it in the latter statement. And I might have based my statement on the 212 statement from FSL. But as I said on the outset, my statement is to the best of my recollection. The 1 brick that was discovered, like I said, must have been the lighting, and it was human error. We're dealing with humans. Although we expected to not make this type of mistake, we're dealing with human beings. In terms of the premature arrest, that is a 50-50 issue in my opinion. In hindsight, I would agree with him that we should have just continued with the investigation, and then indeed there might have been a different outcome. But that is in hindsight. You know, sometimes we need to make decisions on a crime scene within minutes or in a very short space of time. And then, fortunately or unfortunately, we then have to live with our decisions that we had to make in a very short space of time. The lack of follow-ups on the alibis, I think for the most part, the investigation team did what they could in terms of following up on the alibis. The statement from the commanders, I was aware of a situation where certain of the commanders of the members that were arrested. I'm aware of the fact that those initial indications telephonically that they were not aware of their members on the scene, and later they said, no, we were aware of the members on the scene in statement form. That is worrisome, definitely worrisome as well. So that's basically my comments on these points. But yeah, if unfortunately we don't always have a do-over in life, but I would do certain things differently. For example, the investigation before the arrest. But yeah.
Unless there are any questions from the commissioners, that's...
The supplementary statement, we amend that reference to one clearly been, because I think it's on page 12. So, yeah, page 12, paragraph 51. The supplementary, it should be 136.46.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think that was just a typo. I think it's in paragraph 51, it's the same thing.
Yeah, that's where I was.
51 and 52. both
51 and
references.
52.
Colonel, when you started very early on in the day, you mentioned, and I think this was in the general discussion before you got into the statement, that to date no arrests have been made. Was it in relation to the drugs themselves, the seized drugs, or members of the SAPS?
Commissioner, on the scene, as indicated, there were 4 people arrested. In the interim, that case has been removed from the roll after representations, and after that, I'm not aware of anyone else that was arrested on this case relating to the exhibits, relating to their conduct and the like.
And disciplinary action against Mr. Mashaba and the other 2 members?
I'm aware that there was disciplinary actions. I cannot recall which one. The one was one of the officers. I think it was the officer from, not the national one. If the advocate can just maybe assist me. Was the guy driving the black bakkie? That was.
Makhane.
Yeah, I think he was suspended. But I'm just talking of things that I heard, Commissioner. I cannot testify to that fact as a fact.
And do you know whether any of them or all of them are still in the employ of the state? The traffic chief and the
I
other
think the
members?
chief is. And I know at least one of the SAPS members are still also employed. I'm not sure about the third SAPS, after the second SAPS member.
Thank you. Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Can I take you back to page 109 of CJC 217?
I'm there, Commissioner.
Colonel, just looking at that, surely that is wrong, that you can load these bags in the back of an unmarked van, before the exhibits are secured and properly sealed and properly numbered and properly counted, just on its face.
And photographed. It was not photographed before this.
They haven't even been counted or put in seal bags or anything like that. Somebody has loaded them in what is clearly a private vehicle, and they are removing them from a crime scene.
We established that this is, my humblest apologies,
Where you
Commissioner.
find drugs, I mean, it's a crime scene,
Absolutely.
and that scene must be secured.
Absolutely.
But here they are already being removed, and somebody's taking them somewhere.
Yeah. You will also see that this is before we came to the crime scene. Look at the people standing around. The gentleman there with the red shirt. No, is definitely not a police officer. So this was before we arrived there. So it's not even cordoned off. Like one of the first things that the advocate highlighted was that it should be there should be at least an inner perimeter, which wasn't done. If one has a look at the photograph. So when you say that that's improper and incorrect, I have to totally 100% agree with you.
Even assuming the arrest was premature, just looking at what they have,
Yes.
is contrary to all the
100%, Commissioner. I agree with you.
Not that it makes any difference. I think you wanted to make a correction. I think it's something that I picked up from the statement, that van turned out to be a police van,
That's correct. It was a police van, or not a police van, but a police vehicle.
a police vehicle.
Yes, Commissioner. The black vehicle.
What does that mean? Do you mean it is being driven by a policeman, or?
It is registered as a SAPS vehicle.
But as you know, even vehicles,
Absolutely,
so
Commissioner.
it
No,
doesn't follow that just because it.
your comments 100% correct.
But then again, on the flip side, you can't ask.
100% correct.
So you-
Indeed, Commissioner.
May I, sorry, Chair, Commissioners have caused me to have a follow-up. Because the issue of premature arrests and all of that is quite important. There are several people that arrived at the scene, the first responders I was referring to earlier, and along the way, and that's, I think, where Warrant Officer Pakula comes in at a certain, because he only arrives, when we were looking at the timeline, he only arrives at the Eritton. He doesn't follow the truck with the others, right? He arrives in Eritton. And one of the findings by Major General Kerber was that he thought that Warrant Officer Pakula was genuinely trying to, but then was subjected to arrest. And perhaps that was the thing about the arrest, because if he wasn't complicit with the others, the black bakkie, the drugs, he may have been do some processing at the crime scene. Can I get your comment?
I cannot really comment on Pakula's role there, but I don't know. He was, who asked him to come to the scene, and why? If he's at a national investigation entity, why didn't he contact the correct people? He contacted Colonel Sipungu, who was his commander, who was on leave. And if you again have a look at that photograph on 109, that red Kia there at the back would be the vehicle he came in.
The red vehicle.
The red Kia vehicle that you can only see the nose of in that picture. So at the end of the day, if he would have done something, the first thing, why didn't he secure the drugs and at least have an inner perimeter? That's just a question I would ask. But I cannot comment on exactly what he did at the crime scene.
No, that's fine. I think that it's based on Major General Kerber's interview and then statements of Officer Pakula, who explains what he did and the jock. I just wanted to clarify what he understood. That's all.
Thank you very much, Excuse. Let's adjourn until 9:30 tomorrow.